Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 13th regular closed session meeting of the EBMUD Board of Directors. Director Gomez is participating from a remote location. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Director Chan,
Here.
Director Gomez,
Here.
Director Katz is en route, Director Lewis,
Here.
Director Odie,
I'm here.
Director Smith,
Present.
President Young.
I am here, surprisingly. I had quite a morning. Okay, we'll next go to public comment. Are there any members of the public online?
No online public comment at the moment.
Okay, I have 8 cards, and I will take them in the order that I got them. We're gonna, because you were so kind to give us just 8 cards. Oops, sorry. We are gonna go ahead with the 3-minute, 3-minute limit, and I'm gonna try to get my phone to turn off. Please state your name, affiliation, and topic. Please refrain from providing personal information such as addresses or phone numbers. If we need that information, we'll have you contact the staff. The secretary will, well, I'll call each speaker. Why does it say that? You'll be allotted 3 minutes to speak. When the timer goes off, please wrap up your comments. All right, first up, I have Dwight George.
Good morning, Board of Directors, President Young, General Manager Chan. I'm here on behalf of Local 21 and to speak on specifically equity adjustments today. Around 10 years ago, General Manager Coate and the Board of Directors surveyed the employees to build a culture for the future. A diverse focus group of employees settled on 4 core values: integrity, respect, stewardship, and teamwork. We settled on these 4 not because they're what we have and what we embody, but because of what we're lacking. So I want to explain that moving forward here to our new Board of Directors. And every day, our employees try to embrace integrity, respect, stewardship, and teamwork. Throughout the process of equity adjustments and negotiations, I'm going to go over how those 4 core values still need work. Integrity. We've demonstrated on our behalf and believe you have heard us about the process and the broken down process that's taken place over the equity adjustments, specifically 2 classifications that have been ongoing for years and years and years. Respect. The unions respected management and the board's plan to settle outside of contract and continue these negotiations in good faith. And that process ended poorly with broken trust. Stewardship. After we come up with, we presented equity adjustments, and we would like to see an honest and thoughtful response to those equity adjustments with some reasoning. That's where stewardship comes in. And teamwork. The director of HR gave us a plan to deal with equity adjustments and move them outside of negotiations. That plan has a process between HR, the board of directors, and unions that takes place throughout 2025. And we can do some teamwork and we can get this done right now. We can get it done in a day, in an afternoon, in a week. But we've provided all the information. We have all that information, and we just need to sit down and go over it and not just present it and then hear nothing back. Lastly, we did meet at the table, and the director of HR explained this process. And I'd like to say, Keith Fleming's told us that the board heard us. And we believe you did. We do, and we believe you do care. So really, I just want to say thank you for listening to us. Thank you for coming up with a plan to address this, to hear our things. Cindy said one thing that was really important. The district does things the same way over and over and over again. And I've seen that throughout my 16, 17 years where we keep going over the same cycle year in and year out. And I'm about to wrap up. So there's a new plan on the table, but now we're back at the beginning. So I say, thank you for hearing us. Thank you for caring. And let's get this done, and we can do it soon. Thank you.
I'm gonna start taking the time out of the clapping. Just kidding. Patrick Loosely?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, board members, Clifford Chan. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I've been at the district now, Plumber out North York. I've been back with the district now almost 3 years. And about a year and a half ago, I had a medical emergency. And my yard, everyone around me, pipeline, everybody came together to show me how much they love me. That meant the world to me. I thought, luckily it wasn't what it was, but it was a life-changing experience. I'm here today to ask you guys, as human beings, to look at me and say, are you worth what we're asking in negotiations as far as our money? On those 16-hour shifts when we're out fighting a main break on Christmas Day so people can have water when they wake up. Are we worth it? I think so. On those days where I have to come in after we lose someone on their way home from work and explain to them what happened, I think we're worth that little raise that we are asking. I am a father of 5. We live in the Bay Area. It is not cheap, okay? 2 of my sons are autistic. They have a different level of care. I do everything in my power to make sure that they're happy, the rest of the family's good. I want to make sure they're taken care of, and that's why I'm here today, to speak to you guys. These things that we ask, I mean, I don't think they're anything crazy. I look back at this crowd that came out here today show up to make sure that what we ask for is followed through with. And again, I think what we're asking for is reasonable. On those days when we're out, look us in the face, say, are you worth it? I think so. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that I do appreciate, I know all of you took time off of work to be here, and that's a lot, and really appreciate you coming out, and we do hear you. And there's a lot of other people we have to hear too. So we're in that uncomfortable place of having to balance both things. Next up, Frederick Saavedra. Did I pronounce your name right?
Saavedra.
Saavedra.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the board, Mr. Chan, Mr. McDonald, and whoever else I don't name. Everybody, good morning. Thank you. I'm Frederick Saavedra. I'm a plumber in Central Yard, and I am the face of EBMUD. Invest in me, in my security, in my future. I represent 1/3 of the district. We are the forward face in the streets of the district. They're seeing us. The community sees us first. We're there. The district has roughly 4,300 miles of pipe in the ground, and we can install maybe 25 miles a year, right? But we maintain the other 4,275 miles of pipe in the ground 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We're going to be out there on Christmas while our daughters and children are home. We have a plethora of resources to assist us in this endeavor. Technological advances in machinery and computing to aid us. But advanced technology is not our most valuable asset. The means and methods we employ cannot be duplicated by nanobots in the future because our innovations occur in the field, in the moment. We, like you, are each unique. We are a variety of experiences and skill sets that combine together. Every person out here is a different individual that brings a value to the district, and that's the value that we're asking for compensation. Many of the mains in downtown Oakland were installed by Civil War veterans using the same software and hardware that we use today. That's our technology. The mains continue to carry water because we are proficient in our art. It's a Bachelor of Arts degree. It's an art. We have our bachelors. We're working out there. As a veteran myself, I can relate to the integrity and innovation of those early plumbers. We will seek out, locate, close with, and repair that main. But it's a dangerous environment. It's outside the walls of this castle, this protected space. And when we're out in the street, we're in a dangerous environment of contaminated soils. We're hoping to avoid feces. I saw it yesterday, covering the street dang near. Hypodermic needles surrounding us. We are verbally and physically assaulted. We are robbed. And sometimes we are shot at. I personally was shot in the ear. Oh, didn't get damaged. I guess I'm Superman. I think we all are. Superman. And what happens when I get robbed? I might get a disciplinary letter. Is that the value that we want to put forward? What job code do I use when I'm waiting until midnight for a callback from OPD to file a police report? We are the face that the community sees first when the main breaks. We need you to invest in us, in our compensation, our security, and our futures. I appreciate the tea times and the engineer forums, but they are not for us. We can't come down here from Danville and San Ramon and make it in time covered in mud.
Mr. Saavedra, your time is up. You're about 30 seconds over. You can wrap it up, please.
I just want to say, we are diverse. We want equity. We want to feel included. And thank you.
Thank you. Is it Steva or Steva or Steve? Safely? Stanley? Which is it? Is it Steve?
My name is Stephen Stanley.
Okay, it looked like an A at the end. It's okay. Your handwriting's
My
like my
handwriting is
son.
horrendous.
Your handwriting's like my son's. It's
I
okay.
apologize. Members of the board, Clifford, counselor, you know, we didn't want to bring lawyers into this. Anyhow, that was intended as a joke. I wanted to come up here and express, all the people behind me have bled for this organization. And I don't mean that figuratively, I mean literally, we've bled. Every one of us has cut, hurt, because our jobs are physical. We put it on the line. And whenever the board or the people in management ask something of us, they always say, golly gosh darn sport, you know, we care about you. We care about the people because the people are what drives the organization. When you want something, you drive home how important your people are. Well, we want some recompense. It's time for us to get our due. You've heard everybody here express how we put our bodies on the line, sacrifice our families, sacrifice ourselves. But when it comes to negotiations, you folks forget. You don't think about what we do for the organization. If East Bay Mud wants a new truck, a new piece of equipment, right there. And I appreciate that because it makes my job better. But whenever it comes time for us to get equity adjustments, bear in mind that we live in one of the most expensive real estate markets in the nation. And we, here behind you, very few of us can actually afford to live in the district because it's gotten so out of hand. This is not ever brought up when you talk about cost of living because real estate, fuel, and food, the three most expensive things, aren't even part of COLA. When it's time to discuss money, we want to remain part of the community. We want to be able to remain in this community. We need adjustments that reflect that. When we talk about money, you forget all the sacrifices we make. We want recompense. Stop treating us like chattel. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Camacho.
Good afternoon, President Young, General Manager Chan, and the members of the board. My name is Adrian Camacho, and I'm a water distribution crew foreman out of Central Yard. I am also a proud member of Local 444, a member of the executive board, and a shop steward. I stand in front of you today representing every single employee that works standby that has been getting wrongfully paid. Per MOU 9.2.1, we are supposed to be getting paid 25% of our basic pay during a standby period. However, the district has been paying 8% of our hourly pay rate of 40-hour week, not the 128 non-working hours that we make ourselves available. The formula is easy. Take our hourly rate, multiply that by 128 non-working hours, multiplied by the agreed percentage of pay. Now, how did we get that 128 hours? Simple. 24 hours in a day, times that by 7. That comes to 168. Subtract 40 for the hours that we are already working, and that's how you get 128 hours. For example, an employee that makes $50 an hour, then you multiply that by the 128 non-working hours. Lastly, multiply that by 25%, which is stated in the MOU. That number comes out to $1,600. I make, give or take, around $50, and I can guarantee you I have never once seen $1,600 on my paycheck for being available on standby. Not even close. However, we'll settle for 15%. That same employee that makes $50 an hour will now take home $960 for being on standby. While you guys are at home, enjoying your vacations, holidays, we're on standby. 24 hours a day, in the rain, in some places in the snow, not that often. Unsafe, in Oakland, in Richmond, Castro Valley, Piedmont, Walnut Creek. Everywhere you guys live, we're there. Now, if you still think that's high, let's not forget somebody sitting up here has received 30% raise over the last 4 years, and that was agreed upon by the members of the board. So please do what's right and pay us. Pay us. The district knows that they are wrong and offered to pay each person on standby a flat rate of $700. Now that may sound good to a plumber too, but we're not blind. And please do not try to pull a blanket over our eyes. We will not agree to that. I'm gonna wrap this up right now. Members of the board, please look behind me at all these brothers and sisters in the yellow vests. Each and every one of these hardworking men and women are getting ripped off by the district. By not changing the way that we are paid for standby, you are telling them that their years of experience don't matter. Their families don't matter. Their broken down bodies don't matter. It's quite simple. Pay us. We currently have 50 employees in Central Service Area.
Mr.
More than
Camacho,
half of them
you're
are here
over
today.
30
You're 30 seconds over right
We
now.
have shut down Central Area Service Center for these 2 hours. Now imagine if that keeps on going around. Pay us. Thank you.
I gave you all 3 minutes apiece. We've been going over a lot, okay? I really need you to hold the time, please. Because we've got a whole session to talk about what you're asking us to talk about, okay? We spent here 2 hours last night doing that, okay? So please, I appreciate you're here, but please respect the time. Thank you. John Halseth. And, nothing.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is John Halseth. I'm a water distribution plumber 3 with 18 years of district experience, and I am the member relations secretary for Local 444. And I'm here to speak to you today about contract negotiations, specifically wages. The district negotiation team's current wage proposal is CPIW with a minimum increase of 2% and a maximum increase of 3% per year. This is not enough. It's not nearly enough. We are coming out of a period of very high inflation. Our last contract, our wages were 1.2% over CPIW for the entire 4 years covered by the contract. And many employees feel like this was not enough to stay even. CPIW is not a perfect model, and many of our brothers and sisters feel that it does not accurately reflect the true increase in the cost of living and raising a family in the Bay Area. The price of groceries is up, gasoline is up, rent is up, home prices are going up again. Gas, electricity, water, internet, garbage, all the utilities are up, and our members are finding it harder and harder to keep up. This negotiation, 29 separate job classifications from Local 444 asked for equity adjustments. There are 522 employees that work in those 29 classifications. That's 522 employees in Local 444 alone telling you that they are falling behind and that they're feeling the stress of being able to feed, clothe, and shelter their families. And this stress is just over the current increases in prices. There are worries that proposed tariffs can lead right back to another period of high inflation, and wage increases of just 2 to 3% per year is not going to cut it. Consider all the employees who used their vacation time to speak to you last month about equity adjustments. Look at all the employees who used their own personal vacation time to come up here and speak to you, and all the other employees back here that use their own personal vacation time to sit here and support us. Right? We're all here. Every one of us is here because we're feeling the pressure. Nobody takes a job at EBMUD to get rich, right? We're all just trying to stay afloat. And so we would appreciate it if you could tell your negotiating team to come back with a real livable wage proposal. Thank you very much.
Okay, and my last three speakers are Robert Collard, Gilbert Laredo, and then Eric Larson.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Robert Collard. I've worked with the district for 8 years. I'm a heavy transport operator. And I'll just say I feel unprepared. I wasn't planning to speak today, but being addressed by fellow coworkers, they said, you need to say something. I'm a shop steward for Pipeline, which has anywhere from 112 to 122 people in that division. And we renew the infrastructure of the pipes. We deal with customers every day. We deal with traffic every day. And what I'm hearing from the rank and file is due to the cost of living, increased cost in goods and services, being a family of four, we're struggling to make it. I believe last board meeting, somebody came and brought a challenge flag, and you didn't know what that was. If you're familiar with sports, just like all of us, we're professionals on the field. There's an umpire or a ref there to kind of decide. A lot of times they have to make a split decision and make a call. With the challenge flag, that gets thrown out and we stop everything. And we take a look at what's going on and we make sure that we make the best call and that it's relevant. So we're asking you to throw in the challenge flag, stop, take a really good look at it and make the best call. And remember, if you have something good in your life, it didn't get there by itself. A truck brought it and it was brought by other people, this team of men and women behind me. That's what makes EBMUD happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Gilbert Laredo.
Morning, board members. Clifford Chan, Donald. I'll be really brief in the interest of time and fairness for everybody. Just wanted to talk briefly about negotiations and what's going on. Obviously, there's a lot that's on the table, but I'm just amazed that, budgets get passed for infrastructure renewal, capital projects, and we're an afterthought. We invest heavily in a lot of stuff from the district, and I understand we have to keep up with the times, but it always seems at the end we're just getting scraps at the table. You see, everybody here that took your time to be here today is part of your team. In sports, they invest heavily on their key players and to make so that they're a better team, and it doesn't seem like we're getting that same love here. In the field, plumbers and foremen and operators, they're your subject matter experts out there. the ones keeping the water in the pipe, all the way up to the supervisors that have been and came through the plumber 4 ranks. We just want something fair and equitable and not be an afterthought. We've been exploited enough. We get people to get injured every year because that's part of the job. They run out of time because Athens drags their feet. And, you know, we had a gentleman got hurt May 1st of last year, and it took 9 months, almost 10 months before he even had surgery. Poor guy got electrocuted. Now he's on his sick leave, burning it just so he can keep his retirement credits and keep insurance for his family. We're not expendable. We're not just employee numbers or tax ID numbers. And just, you know, come on out. See what we do in the field. If you're out and about, have a hard hat and a vest in your vehicle, identify who you are, and park in a safe area. Come and see what we do in the field, whether it's a mainline job or a leak or paving. Come and see us. Talk to us. And we're human too. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Larson?
Thank you, President Young. Good morning, board members, general manager. Good morning, 444 in the House. We've been hearing from the negotiators that there isn't much money. But we know from your budget books that you have 9.1% increase in labor costs, 40% of which are increase in benefits, leaving 5.5% for wages. We need you to get there. We need you to put it on the table. We also know you've increased capital appropriations by 100%, from $350 million to over $700 million. We know the money is there, and we need you to give authority to your negotiators to increase the wage package. The proposal that was brought to labor falls short. The HIB contribution is too high, especially with the increase in Pepper contributions to 10.17%. We can't add another 1.22% on top of that. Pepper members need to be made whole, increase the 401k incentive, and increase longevity pay. Also, standby premium needs to be fixed. The math that changes 25% to 8% is not right. You need to value the person setting their life aside to assure that we continue the continuous operation of the district. And finally, the fix for equity adjustment falls far short. We told Cindy Sharon in pre-negotiations meetings that we need to be consulted on the class and compensation studies before negotiations starts. Now we're being told next time in 2029, they'll consult with us about the class and comp study. We're being told to drop all of our equity adjustment proposals and discuss just our top 5 proposals after July outside of negotiations. Discuss is the word that they use, not meet and confer with an impasse procedure. We're not going to tolerate that. We would demand to meet and confer and to bargain fairly and have a seat at the table. Because in our experience, the only equity adjustments that happen outside of negotiations are the result of arbitrations for grievances that we've filed for the district not following civil service procedures. Tell Cindy to work with the unions to fix the equity adjustments and tell your negotiators to put real money on the table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. And speak for myself, I do take that into the boardroom with me every time. And I think that is a sentiment shared by all of my colleagues. We will now adjourn to conference room 8, or not adjourn, move to conference room 8 to continue our closed session on items. Where are the items? If one, just one, there's 2, right?
1, 3.
There's 3 items for a closed session agenda.
And President Young, can we also, there was an announcement to be advised that Manager of Employee Services, Lisa Serrani, will attend the closed session for item 1 in addition to those persons identified on the agenda. For
Okay.
item 1, that's for the record.
Okay, somehow I'm missing where my things
On
are.
your first page.
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 13th, 2025, regular business meeting of the East Bay Mud Board of Directors. Director Gomez is participating from a remote location. Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Director Chan?
Present.
Director Gomez? Give us one moment, we have to admit her as a panelist. Director Gomez is online. Director Katz?
Here.
Director Lewis?
Here.
Director Odie?
I'm here.
Director Smith?
Present.
President Young?
I am here.
And I am here, Director Gomez.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we do have one announcement from closed session. The board met in closed session this morning, or actually it was this afternoon, to consider a request by the general counsel to authorize initiation of litigation in one matter. All directors were present. All directors voted to authorize the general counsel to initiate the litigation. The action, the parties, and other particulars will be disclosed upon inquiry once the action is formally commenced. There are no other announcements from closed session. We have a couple of presentations. General Manager Chan.
Yeah, first, Director Smith, would you like to do the science fair?
So just as an introduction, for the past 12 years, East Bay Municipal Utility District has proudly co-sponsored the Excellence in Water and Wastewater Research Awards in Alameda and Contra Costa counties. And I know this personally because I've been a judge on that contest for a while. This initiative recognizes outstanding student projects in science and engineering and helps nurture the next generation of innovators in water sustainability. With today's challenges, it's more important than ever to inspire young minds to develop solutions for ensuring safe, reliable water for the future. Recognition to our award winner. I'm very honored today to recognize one of these bright minds whose dedication to water science and engineering truly stands out. Please join me in congratulating Adit Anand, an 11th grader at California High School in San Ramon. His project, using machine learning to detect water leaks, earned the prestigious Award of Excellence. Adit's project, he applied machine learning to the critical issue of water leakage. His method improves leak detection accuracy and efficiency, showing strong potential for real-world conservation. His work highlights how AI can support smarter water management. Adit, your project reflects both innovation and a commitment to protecting our water resources. We are proud to present you with a certificate and a $300 award. We also recognize your teacher, Ray Ann Crandall, for supporting research in water and wastewater science with a $100 award. So. Well, congratulations. Okay. Thank you. All right, and this is for you. And this is for you. Thank you. Yes. So, here.
would you like to share? And let me share it.
So my project just serves as a proof of concept to show that AI can be used to detect water leaks, because water leakage is a huge problem in California. It results in trillions of gallons of water being lost yearly, and especially in California with all the droughts that are happening, I thought that it would be interesting if AI could be used as an emerging technology to help detect it.
So does anyone have any questions?
What did you find out?
AI can be used to detect leaks.
But I guess my question is how? I mean, what's the process? What's the prompt?
So there's an audio classification model that you can find on the internet, and it can uses any microphone, and it takes the audio and it can say what sound is happening. So if you talk into that microphone, then it'll say that people are talking, and using that, I saw how many times it actually detected the leak, and to simulate that, I just let my faucet just drip, and I recorded it from another room.
Cool.
Did your data set allow you to find different patterns for different vintage years of pipe or different pipe materials? Did we give you access to that type of data?
No, I didn't look into the pipes, but I did notice that different faucets, with like the faucet shape and the material of the faucets, they did yield different results with differences in accuracy.
So are there any other topics you're excited to explore?
I'm not quite sure yet, but related to this, I'd say the next steps would be to train my own model based on any inaccuracies that were found in the project that I just did.
Okay, great, great. Well, gonna wrap it up if there are no other questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations again on your achievement. We hope to see your continued impact in the field. The world of water science and engineering is in great hands with young leaders like you. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Next, I want to talk about the San Paulo Reservoir Hypolimnetic Oxygenation System. The district received an award for the Outstanding Water and Wastewater Project of the Year from the American Society of Civil Engineers, Region 9, which encompasses the state of California. The award is for the district's San Pablo HOS system, which was placed in service last September. This project includes a new cryogenic storage tank, electrical building, and underwater oxygenation system that efficiently introduces oxygen into the reservoir bottom, or the hypolimnium. The hypolimnium is the deepest layer of a reservoir that often has depleted dissolved oxygen levels due to the decomposition of organic matter. This anoxia can lead to the release of manganese, methyl mercury, and nutrients that contribute to algal blooms, which can cause taste and odor problems. The project addresses the root cause of water quality issues at San Pablo Reservoir by oxygenating the hypolimnium, and gives the district a tool to effectively reduce taste and odor events, as well as concentrations of dissolved manganese and methyl mercury in the reservoir. The project will also help the district manage future droughts by improving raw water quality. The increased level of oxygen in the reservoir will eventually reduce the ozone treatment required at Sobrante Water Treatment Plant, delivering energy savings and reducing the district's carbon footprint. The project also improves habitat for fish and wildlife that reside in and around the San Pablo Reservoir and its wetlands. This award acknowledges the district's ability to persevere through and overcome obstacles, including the challenges of underwater construction, differing site conditions, major supply chain disruptions, and a pandemic. Despite these challenges, the project team was able to construct high-quality and beneficial infrastructure that will benefit both people and the wildlife for years to come. The award also recognizes the district's ability to innovate in its construction projects. The San Pablo Reservoir HOS features a novel use of an adjustable tension anchors and a frame system for underwater equipment. The first successful underwater performance testing of the system showed that the HOS was performing as designed, and continued monitoring by staff showed increase in oxygen concentrations throughout the full length of the reservoir bottom after less than 2 months of operation. The project team included district staff, design consultant Brown and Caldwell, construction contractor Mountain Cascade, and diving subcontractor Underwater Resources. The contractors and consultants work hand in hand with the district's construction, design, commissioning services, and operations and maintenance groups. Some staff who helped this project come to fruition are here today to represent the entire team. I'll just,
Are the divers here?
I don't think so. Phalentine Bell, Chloe Chalk, Michael Hartlob, Elaine Horn, Jack Alexin, Javier Prospero, Michael Takis, Serge Tarantef, and Justin Young. On behalf of the district, I commend the team for embodying the district values of teamwork and stewardship. Please join me in congratulating the team for this outstanding achievement.
Congratulations, I got a chance to view this project on one of our water walks and heard about the divers going in and all of the work that went into this. And as somebody who grew up around San Pablo Reservoir and appreciates water quality as much as anyone, I think this is a great project and well worthy of the award. Thank you so much.
I should invite you to come hang on a pole with me.
I will, I think you do.
All right, Val.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hang on just a second. Okay, our next item is to consider appointing an interim vice president pending completion of the investigation into one of our board members. And we have a number of cards on this item, and I will take comments first. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. When I call your name, please come forward, and I will read the 2 speakers after the, in line. When prompted, please state your name, affiliation if applicable, and the topic. Refrain from providing personal information such as your address or phone number. If we need that, we'll get it from a staff member will contact you. The secretary will call each speaker in the order received, and you will have 3 minutes to speak, and you will see a timer in front of you. Please stick to that time, especially since we have so many speakers. And the secretary will inform you when your time is up. Are there any speakers online for this item?
I have one hand online. I need to see if it's about what.
Go ahead and see if it's related to this.
I have 2, yeah. Lester, you should be able to unmute your mic. Are you
Yes.
speaking on an
Can you hear me?
agenda or, yes, are you speaking on an agenda or non-agenda item?
I'm speaking on this item.
Okay. So give us one moment, please.
Okay, so we'll take the online, our practice is to take online comments first.
Okay. And then I have 2 more. I'll just check to see what they. Michelle? Are you speaking on an agenda or non-agenda item?
This item.
Okay, give us one moment, please. Okay, so Lester was first. You want to take Lester first?
Yeah.
Okay. Lester, give me a
you
moment.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Let me set up the timer, and then I'll let you know when to start. And your 3 minutes start now.
Sorry, my phone just went off. Yes, my name is Lester. I'm currently calling from Oakland, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not on any committee, board, or organization that I'm a part of. First thing I want to mention is this is the United States, okay? We don't attempt to punish people here without due process. And from what I've seen from the past board meetings, you've had some weak testimony that has not been investigated or corroborated. And like any kangaroo court, you are potentially acting on that without giving the defense their say. How is the public supposed to believe any of the results of any investigation by your employees when you are signaling how you want the investigation to turn out? It's like I don't understand, how we as people, now that you are now taking action before something is even ended, or are potentially taking action, and signaling again to your people that, hey, this is how the board thinks, so you might want to go along this way. This feels like nothing more than a witch hunt so that certain board members can increase their own power and place favored people in key positions. You should not be making any moves until at least the investigation is complete. Okay, I would suggest that you get an independent investigation from an outside source, since this board now has so-called muddied the water with its actions and potentially tainted the results by your actions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, you should be able to unmute your mic. And
Can you hear me?
yes, your 3 minutes start now.
Hi, this is Michelle. I'm from Fairview, and I'm a constituent of Director Chan. I'm also a neighbor, and I've spoken to her many times. She's always been polite and helpful, so I'm having a really hard time understanding what's being said and some of the accusations. I also have concerns regarding administrative proceedings and internal investigations. How does the public know they were conducted impartially? What metrics were used? Are the findings based on facts or opinions? If it is an opinion, then whose opinion is it? I think all these questions should be answered in the reports so we can decide for ourselves whether to trust these findings or not when they're released. Further, I am disturbed that Director Chan is being criticized for asking someone that she didn't even recognize if they were somewhere they were supposed to be. It seems logical to me, as I've always been told, that if you see something, say something. I'm curious as to whether EBMUD has procedures to deal with situations like this, and when it was the last time it was shared with personnel, if they do, and what the parking situation is like generally. All I know is that this appears to be blown out of proportion, and I think Director Chan has already apologized genuinely to the artist. I saw the previous board meetings, and I believe her apology was sincere. Continuing with more investigations seems wasteful to me at this point, and I would hope that the board would take into consideration the honest and sincere apology that was already given. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it for online? Okay, the first speaker I have, and apologies in advance for any mispronunciations. Tawan.
I have one additional hand that just popped up.
Okay.
Theo, you should be able to unmute your mic. Theo, you should be able to unmute your mic. Theo at Pettis.
Hello.
Hi. Your 3 minutes will start now.
Could whoever has their phone ringing, please turn it off? I couldn't see.
Theo, are your comments on this item or another agenda item?
Current item.
The current item?
Yes.
Okay, your 3 minutes will start now.
Perfect. My name is Theo Pettis. I'm calling on behalf of myself. I am a constituent of Director Chan. After reviewing everything that's been going on with this investigation, I'm very doubtful that this is actually true. It doesn't sound like the person that I've been in contact with. Director Chan has always just been very polite, and respectful person. So it's honestly very shocking to hear everything that's going on. As far as this investigation, I do have some concerns. I believe that anytime that an investigation is being conducted outside of a court of law, there are always going to be shortcuts. There's not always going to be a followed set of rules, and it can be conducted with opinions and unfair assumptions. I really just don't know if this investigation is going to be impartial and that it can be ultimately trusted. Further, I believe the board should not make any decisions or judgments until investigations are complete and both sides have had a chance to dispute any findings that they do not agree with. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Chris Moore.
I have another hand. The hands just keep popping up.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Chris.
That's okay. That hand just went down, and so that hand just went back up. Give us one moment. Tim B., you should be able to unmute your mic.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tim Ballas. I am a constituent of Director Chan. I basically agree with the prior speakers and their comments, and I'll keep my comments brief. I just think it's premature and inappropriate to censure anyone in any way until due process is followed. Director Chan is entitled to due process just like any other U.S. citizen, particularly a public official. I think it's the responsible and right thing to do, and I'll end my comments there. Thank you.
What was the name of that speaker?
Tim Ballas.
Okay, any more online?
At this time, there are no other
Okay.
online speakers.
Okay, I'm going to close online public comment. We'll go to Chris Moore, and followed by Tuan Ngo, and then followed by Liz. I think it's just Liz.
Thank you. My name's Chris Moore. I've actually been I have a property in Cherryland, so in this district for almost 35 years. And it's a rental property now, but still live in Alameda County, EBMUD customer for 35 years. And I've known April for many, many years, not quite that long, but many years. And just want to stand up and echo some of the same comments that Theo and Tim had mentioned, in that we're looking for transparency and really looking to not make any decisions until there has been a complete investigation. I think that's fair to both April, and also just fair to anybody that would be in this current situation. So that's kind of how we can see as the best outcome, where we have a full, complete, transparent investigation and not make any rush decisions. And I would like to just say also, in echoing what the earlier speakers had mentioned, I've known April for quite a long time, had many interactions with her, and never experienced any of the concerns that I've seen out in the press or heard among the community, and just also here supporting with the teams here in support of April's continuance as Vice President on the board. Thank you.
Okay, following Chris, Tuan. Am I pronouncing your name right? Can you
Yes,
give
it's
me your
Tuan No.
No, okay, thank you.
So I'm involved with these community activities, including recalling Sheng Tao and Pamela Price, because we need to hold our electeds accountable, especially when they dive off the deep end. And what I see here is very upsetting. It's upsetting to the entire Asian community, because what happened is you have an incident in a parking lot over a parking spot that's being politicized to target somebody who's representing over 200,000 constituents in her district. She was elected to represent her constituents. And what's on the agenda today? To silence her, to push her aside before the investigation is done. And this is a bias sham process. And to take her voice, we have very few elected Asians, to take her voice away when she's representing our community, when it's Asian Heritage Month. Why do you take action that is so blatantly biased without complete due process? That's not okay. And our community is rallying. More and more people will come around us, and we will make a stand behind April Chan because she stood up for us. She stood up to represent her constituents about the dumping of dirt in Castro Valley. She stood up and asked questions regarding the $279 million of money that was moved without board approval. You guys need to have oversight. You guys need to have integrity, and somebody who represents constituents and the people needs to be protected. We are not going to stand back and be silent and be quiet. We will organize, and more people will observe what is going on here, because this witch hunt needs to end. It is not acceptable to discriminate against an Asian elected woman based on some accusations without giving her a chance to speak. Is this about a parking spot, or is it about a more internal political process to really take out somebody who's there to do her job, who's calling out financial mismanagement to the tune of $279 million? We recall Sheng Tao because she messed up on 17 million. Tenfold less. Do you think we're going to sit back and say nothing and do nothing? No. The community is coming out. We're calling press conferences. And Margaret Young, you are very biased in your action at the last meeting. The Asian community is coming out because we are very upset. Her voice should not be silenced. I want to be very clear about that, because we're not standing back. We stand up for people who stand with us. And that's April Chan. I want that report, that bias sham report, to be made public. I want transparency, and I want accountability, and you will be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Liz?
Hi, good afternoon, board members. My name is Elizabeth Kenny. I'm here today not just as a resident, but as someone who believes that the public service should mean putting people first. Director April Chan has stood up for us, for clean water, for fiscal responsibility, and for community voices that are too often ignored. Can you guys hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay. When April spoke up about the $279 million in questionable financial transfers, she was doing exactly what we need more leaders to do, asking hard questions and demanding answers. It's heartbreaking to see her attacked for doing the right thing. This community stands with April because she stands with us. This community we will not accept bias investigations or political retaliation against an elected representative who has fought for transparency and fairness. I urge the board to restore trust by ending these sham attacks, by recusing conflicted parties, and by making any investigation truly independent and fully public. Please. Please support April Chan and let her continue the work that we elected her to do. We deserve leaders who answer to the people, not political insiders. Thank you, April, for fighting for all of us. We appreciate you and we're grateful to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Benny Lee, then I have Chris Miller, and then I have Mary Montgomery.
Thank you.
my name is Vinny Lee. I've been involved in Asian American and Asian immigrant communities for more than 30 years. I served in leadership positions in both local, regional, as well as national levels, national API organizations. You've been given a copy of this letter. I want the letter to be entered into the records and entered into the minutes. I would like to thank you for your service to our communities, but I will defer from doing such because I'm deeply disappointed with the direction your leadership is taking. This direction is not of service to our communities, nor does it fulfill the mission of EBMUD. Rather, it serves as a politically driven attack on the first ever elected Asian American woman to EBMUD's board during Asian American Heritage Month. And at a time where there's such adverse rhetoric that contributes to anti-Asian hate, violent crimes, such timing brings about the question of an Asian discriminatory bias, since it's happening deliberately during a month that was designated for Asian American heritage. While I did watch the video of this troubled young lady who had appeared to have a mental crisis, I was also made to understand that this young lady followed in a stalking and harassing-like manner while filming Ms. Chan with intimidation. It appears that EBMUD has failed this young lady, and this board has gravely failed Ms. Chan. These actions are extrajudicial castigation that completely lacks due process, where authority clearly is both politically and racially motivated by the leadership of this board and those who seek to abuse their authority in such way. Should any of you proceed with this abuse of authority, we will ensure that this injustice and your names will be shared throughout our API community. I want you to remember that in Alameda County, more than 35% of the population are APIs. APIs are not well represented. Statewide, they only represent 4% of the population, even though they represent 11% of the population. You know, I want to also comment that the board actually did well in recognizing that youth because he did machine learning. And you know what the machine learning does? It learns by mistakes, but it corrects it to be better. You should be better. This is not about using a stick. It's about always bringing the best out of people. Thank you. Thank you, April, for being a trailblazer and leading and serving the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Chris Miller, followed by Mary Montgomery, followed by Ladima Epperson.
President Young, I know you closed public comment online, but we had an additional hand come up.
That's fine. We'll do it after I just,
Okay.
we could keep doing that forever. So we'll get that we'll wrap those up at the end.
Okay.
Ms. Miller, go ahead.
My name is Chris Miller. I'm a longtime Hayward resident. I've only known April for a couple of years, but in all the time I've known her, she has always been very respectful to anyone she comes in contact with. And I have to say, I am not nearly as eloquent as many of these previous speakers, but I totally agree with all they had to say. We definitely support April and think that all of you on the board should be respecting her for what she has been willing to stand up for and put her own reputation on the line by speaking truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Montgomery, followed by Ladima Emerson, followed by Seda Doctorman.
This is for the First Amendment. Okay, I've known April long enough to know she has no bad attitudes at all. She displays charisma to the max, honesty and love of all people. She is a woman of power in her district, and every place she goes, she responds. Keep our great water pure, she always says. She was elected to go to Botswana, Africa, by the United States. So do you think that puts her in a high category? She's earned this by being pure of thought. And I can't really hold up anything as good as the previous speakers that are just 100% April. Thank you very much, and we love you.
Okay, Ladima Epperson, Seda Doctorman, and Kat Wellman.
My name is Lodima Epperson. I have been, I've lived in Hayward for 55 years, and I have known April for 3 years, and what a wonderful woman. I can't think of well, anyway, I'll make it short. I agree with the previous gentlemen and ladies who talked about her. I support her. Thank you.
Thank you. Seda or Sita? Which one is it?
Sita.
Sita.
My name is Sita Doctorman. I'm a resident of Castro Valley. I'm a Rotarian. I'm a mother of an Eagle Scout. I've known April for 10 or such years. When I've ever had contact with her, she's introduced me to other people of all races. And when I look at April, I don't think of Asian, Caucasian, Indian. I think of her as a person because she's out there representing the people in her district. I've seen her go out. I've seen her at the golf course checking on things. I know she travels around. The first concern she has is East Bay Mud. This is what she supports. This is what she represents. And she doesn't represent one group, one class. She represents everyone. And I want to continue to respect East Bay Mud and have April Chan continue as the vice president. Please recognize her accomplishments, her integrity, her respect for all people and all rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Kat Wellman, followed by Zoya, followed by George Wu, and that's the last card I have.
Good afternoon. I'm here today to, one, vouch for the fact that April is an exceptional board member, two, to express my concerns about the lack of due process, and three, to urge the board to uphold the integrity and public trust of East Bay Mud. When our community was threatened by the East Bay Mud Quarry Project, which would have brought up to 100 dump trucks a day through Lake Chabot Road for decades, creating a soils dump site just 500 feet from residential homes, it was April Chan who stood up for us. She didn't just speak out, she acted. April brought us to the table with General Manager Clifford Chan and East Bay Mud staff, and that led to a smarter, more sustainable solution, redirecting extracted soil to areas impacted by sea level rise. It was a win for the environment, for East Bay Mud, and for our community who unwaveringly support her. Now April is being targeted based on an allegation, not a finding or conclusion from an investigation, just an allegation. She voluntarily stepped aside from her vice president duties to allow for a fair process. But now there's a push to replace her before that process has even begun. This is not how a fair or ethical board should operate. Why is this issue being made public before any facts are established? Why are unverified claims being treated as facts? Why is April being penalized before the investigation has begun? Why is the board undermining due process, the very foundation of fair governance? April deserves the same rights and protections any of you would expect in her position. Replacing her now sends a chilling message that this board is willing to forego its principles in order to target a particular board member without any investigation into the allegations. I respectfully urge you, do not vote to replace April Chan as vice president. Wait for a fair, transparent, and hopefully unbiased investigation to run its course. In fact, I would urge April to revoke her temporary step aside and resume her vice president duties now if there is a concern that the position must be filled prior to the completion of the investigation. This is a vote about integrity and public trust in East Bay MUD. Please stand on the side of due process. Thank you.
Thank you. Zoya, then George Wu, and then we'll resume the online comments.
Good afternoon, I'm Zoya. Today, I stand for fairness and truth. April Chan was elected to serve the people and not to be a target of political games. She has earned the community's trust through transparency, hard work, and integrity. The board must rise above internal political factionalism. When leadership is attacked without clear evidence, it damages the public's faith, not just in the board, but in the very idea of good governance. I urge you to ensure a fair, independent investigation, free from bias and hidden agendas. Please end political character assignation of a dedicated public servant, April Chan. Protect the voice of the community that April Chan represents. We deserve elected leaders who are treated with respect and professionalism. Please do the right thing, support April Chan, and allow her to continue representing her constituents.
Thank you. George Wu.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is George Wu. I am a resident in Berkeley. Excuse me, my English is not good. I'm speaking today because fairness must be the foundation of this district work. As water, as a public important product, your board naturally owes a diligence obligation to our public. April Chan is doing her job. Her, what her doing, her should be recognized, not be punished by her work. I respectfully ask that you protect the integrity of this board by ensuring a mutually agreed independent investigation and that any conflicted individuals recuse themselves. I'm particularly upset by the biased action of Margaret Yang. We have very few Asian leaders like April, and her voice should not be silenced. We asked for an end to the biased sham investigations and that any report be made transparent and public for all to see. Let's commit to fairness, not retaliation. The public is watching and we expect better. Please support April Chan to allow her to continue her work representing the community that elected her. Thank you.
Okay, and there's a online line.
Edward Escobar, you should be able to unmute your mic, and your 3 minutes will start now.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Edward Escobar. I'm one of the top leaders of the recalls against Sheng Tao and DA Pamela Price. We removed them from office for their failed policies and their failed leadership. This that we're seeing is a sham. It does not pass the smell test. What I see is a whistleblower who's bringing to the public attention the issues of $279 million that was not handled properly. She's talking about the community concerns about airborne transport and exposure to the community from dirt that is not clean. She has concerns about the community. She is a voice for the Asian community as well on top of that. I've known her. I've seen her in action. And this is unacceptable. This type of behavior is unacceptable, unprofessional, and should be investigated further, because I believe there's ulterior motives and hidden agendas, and this is being politicized. So we cannot weaponize these types of hearings towards individuals who have stood up for community, have stood up for the greater good of our society. This is unacceptable. I saw the YouTube video, President Margaret Young, the way that you spoke to April Chan, unacceptable, with such disdain. Fine, fine, fine. I'm sorry, she's not a child. Do not speak to her in that manner. I found that to be extremely disgusting and unacceptable. I'm Edward Escobar. I'm the founder of Citizens Unite and the Coalition for Community Engagement. We have our eyes on this. We will follow up on this. So we will be ever present and ever vigilant. I rest my case.
Is that any more hands online?
No more online hands.
Okay. So the item, I'm going to, thank you all for coming and expressing your support for Director Chan. The issue before us is that there is an outside investigation underway into the allegations that have been made, as well as conduct issues that have been brought forward. That investigation is still ongoing. It began immediately after, or almost immediately after, our last board meeting, and it is continuing due to the number of witnesses and due to the associated issues of setting appointments. We expect that investigation to be concluded within a couple of more board meetings. There are, as a result, Director Chan did agree to continue her suspension from, or voluntary suspension from, the vice presidency. Does not impact any of her abilities to represent her constituents and engage in decision-making on the board. It also does not address or deal with the issues that have been raised about the budget allocations or the quarry project, which I think all of us are thrilled about the prospect of using those soils to address sea level rise and restore wetlands in the Delta. The investigation is, as I said, being conducted by an outside firm. I have nothing to do with it. I've not been interviewed. I will not be interviewed. And as for whether it is a public report or not, I think part of that is up to the parties involved as to whether they are, I don't know what the legal conditions are associated with the report. We do need to have, or it's my view that we are going to entertain appointment of an interim vice president until such time as that investigation is concluded and any findings can be made.
Okay, if you're done, I would like to speak next because this is an issue about me.
Of course.
Okay, so let's talk about San Leandro first, that we're all thrilled to death that that the quarry project was shut down and the soil went somewhere else. And I know that my friend Kat Wellman knows that's a lie from you, that you would have loved to continue the quarry project so that that soil would not go to Arindo, would not go to your ward. Let me just say that. Secondly, you don't understand what they're saying. They're talking about retaliation. That the things that I have done is what's causing you to retaliate against me. That is the gist of what I got. I'm going to go ahead and read. I actually have some letters of support that I would like to enter into the record. I'm going to read them first, and then I'm going to give them to the secretary of the district. But
I'm
this
going to
is a-
offer to recuse
you know-
myself from the rest of this discussion.
But it's about
happy to
you.
recuse
But it's about you.
Have
It's
a seat.
about.
You're the president. We have a meeting. You need to be present for this. You brought this item on the agenda. You stay.
Past president is able to take over as president.
You brought this item on the agenda. You stay here and listen to us.
Yes, just a moment while I'm using the gavel. Well, I don't need that at the moment.
Andy, I would like to continue what I was
Director Chair,
reading.
Would it be all right if I could say something before I yield back the floor to you?
If it's quick, because I actually have things,
Well, what I would
constituent comments.
I would like to say, and we are in an unexpected situation where, I'm presiding right now as the immediate past president, sitting in as the president pro tem. I did not ask for this item to be on the agenda, and my personal view as an individual, and I'd like to get a sense of the board, is that as we heard from President Young, this investigation is expected to conclude within a few board meetings. That is a relatively short period for the position of vice president to remain vacant. We also, as we've just demonstrated, have the ability to have continuity because we do have a procedure adopted in our board governance manual to have a president pro tem. So we are able to get through this period with the vice presidency being vacant for this interim period. So I propose that we continue to leave the position of vice president vacant because it could have a prejudicial effect on the way our political proceedings conclude amongst ourselves, and most importantly, we do have a procedure for business continuity. I will yield back to Director Chan because she did have the floor at the moment that I took the chair. Then I recognize Director Lewis, and then I don't see any other hands right now.
I appreciate it. First, I have a letter of concern from the Asian Pacific American Democratic Caucus. If you do not know who we are, we represent 150 elected officials and civic-minded officials in Alameda and Contra Costa County. And they saw the video of the reading of the API heritage statement and how that was not, it's something that normally that I do. That is something assigned to me as the only API member on this board. And Director Young decided to assign it to a non-Asian person. They saw this on video and so they wrote this letter. And I'll skip the first couple well, okay. Let me, please. This is about me, okay? I would like to actually
Is
talk
this about the
about.
agenda
Yeah,
item
yes.
right now? And
Yes.
I would like for responses to my proposal to.
But the thing is.
Can we read the
wait.
letter or not read the letter in its entirety? We're not gonna pick and choose. I do have a little bit of an issue about people picking things out of letters. If Director Chan's gonna read
Okay,
the
all
letter,
right.
just read the whole letter.
Yes, ma'am. I will read the whole letter. Okay. And so, to the East Bay MUD Board of Directors, and this is really about the, really, okay, this is really about how the API community is feeling about what happened that day. So the API Democratic Caucus of Alameda County was formed over 20 years ago to address the underrepresentation of Asian Americans in local government. Since that time, we have supported an increasing number of Asian Americans running successfully for office, as well as non-Asian candidates who are supportive of APA community concern. We hold endorsement meetings for nearly all local offices in county, and many candidates running for this board have participated. However, Asian Americans remain the most underrepresented racial group with a population of over 1/3 of Alameda County and only 12% of elected officials. AAPI Heritage Month has a special significance for our community this year due to the increased anti-Asian rhetoric and anti-people actions from the White House, including the elimination of due process for immigrants, which is illegal, efforts to end birthright citizenship, and efforts to erase the histories of the people who have built the infrastructure of America. Our state and our county has remained steadfast in defending our civil rights. So it is therefore jarring to see East Bay MUD Board President Marguerite Young behave in a disrespectful manner towards Board Director April Chan at the April 22nd meeting regarding the reading of the board resolution recognizing API Heritage Month. What should have been the standard practice of having the Asian American board member read the resolution, which nearly all local jurisdictions practice, President Young introduced a non-Asian employee to read it. Only after Director Chan protested and requested that she be allowed to do the honor that President Young begrudgingly agreed. It was indeed unfortunate to see the board president treat a director so disrespectfully in public, especially over a statement recognizing the contributions of Asian Americans. Moreover, while the statement listed the activities being planned by the Asian Pacific Employees Association, in no way was a resolution recognizing the contributions of Asian American in the building of East Bay MUD itself, from Chinese immigrants building Temescal Dam in Oakland, which provided the water supply for the East Bay, as well as the Lake Chabot Dam. The location of the EBMUD Administration Building is one of the oldest continuous Chinatowns in the county, was also admitted. The efforts by the current administration, I think she's talking about the Trump administration, to ban books that cover the history of BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and other marginalized communities, as well as to eliminate the free press, seems to be mirrored by East Bay MUD Board President Young not recognizing Asian American contributions and the sole elected Asian American on the board. The primary target of the Ku Klux Klan in California were the Chinese and discriminatory laws followed against Chinese gold miners and Chinese laundries. The Working Men's Party organized around the slogan, "The Chinese Must Go." And they and California leaders lobbied the federal government to ban Chinese laborers, culminating in the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act. While anti-Asian racism may be less overt today, it persists and continues as microaggressions and of being ignored and not given the same level of respect as others are. The highest cause of death among Asian American youth and young adults 16 to 24 is by suicide, due in part to bullying and unreasonable expectations of being the so-called model minority. East Bay MUD has had an excellent reputation for its stewardship of the water system that serves East Bay residents. It's unfortunate that the elected leadership has chosen to publicly disrespect Director Chan for no apparent reason. We hope that a statement will be forthcoming from the board to address the situation. That was a letter. I'd like to read a letter from the mayor of Oakland. So this is from the office of Kevin Jenkins. He says, I'm writing to offer a personal character reference for Director April Chan, who represents Ward 7, South Alameda County, on the East Bay Mud Board. While I understand there is an ongoing investigation related to a recent incident, I would like to share my own experience with Director Chan and emphasize the importance of a fair and thoughtful process as this moves forward. I've had the opportunity to meet and speak with Director Chan on several occasions over the years, whether at community events in Oakland Chinatown or in the unincorporated Alameda County, or during quiet moments of conversation. In each of these settings, I found her to be warm, respectful, and genuinely committed to serving the public. She brings professionalism and care to her work, and it's clear she takes her responsibilities seriously. Director Chan has always struck me as someone who listens with intention, engages with people across diverse backgrounds with thoughtfulness and sincerity. In our time speaking, sometimes in lengthier conversations, I've never found her to be rude, aggressive, or anything less than professional. On the contrary, she has been open, approachable, and kind. I understand that tensions can sometimes arise in public service, but I believe in April Chan's character, conduct, and longstanding commitment in the community. I hope her record and personal integrity are considered carefully and compassionately during this process. As mayor of Oakland, I support a thorough and fair review of the facts and trust that those involved in the investigation will handle the matter with the same spirit of fairness that April has extended to others throughout her service. And I would like my word to be heard, and I will read these as quickly as possible. This is from Michael and Mary Matthews to the East Bay
Dr.
Mud
Chan,
Board.
You've had the floor for 7 minutes
Okay,
now.
then
Could
someone-
you estimate what you still need to speak before we?
Well, Director Young only told me about this on Friday, that I was going to be on the agenda. So these people, really rushed. It was very inconvenient of them to write these letters in such a brief period of time, and I think they went through the effort of it. And so I will read through them as quickly as possible.
I would like to, you've read two, very substantive letters, and I think it's important that we just hear from the board about what we're thinking.
Okay, but
about
I
the
would
item.
like to go back to my constituents' letters because I would really like them to be heard.
I'd like you to sum up in
would you
about
like-
a minute or two.
Would you like me to?
Vote on it. We're all here waiting.
There is no motion right now. Given the importance of you having a chance to be heard, I'd like you to wrap up in about a minute or two. And then we'll go to Director Lewis, who's been patiently waiting.
Okay, so what I would like to do is, given the fact that people were disadvantaged, didn't have time to write the letters, and they did it quickly, I would just like to read 1 or 2 paragraphs from each letter. And I can do that quickly.
About a minute or two. Yeah, about a minute. And you can have the floor again if we're
Okay.
still not at consensus.
Okay. All right, so we're not gonna hear from my constituents, okay. Because I can't summarize this in,
Hear from our colleagues and then maybe come back.
okay, so we can do that. We can listen to other people and then come back, but I think my constituents need to be heard.
Director Lewis.
Yeah, and I think I preferenced my comments at the board meeting in April, how hard this was, period. And I want to tell people in this room that I nominated Director April Chan to serve as vice president. And I've had an opportunity and pleasure to get to know her. But you can't, I wanted to say, first of all, that I'm the person that nominated Director Chan to be vice president of our board, and that I've had any number of months to get to know her. Can you hear me? I've got a cold. And I tell people my husband used to think my voice was sexy, and the older he got, he kept saying, "Speak up." So just turn this up, I'm trying. But what I really need, I think there's some things that have been said and assumed that aren't correct here. This is not in any way any attempt to remove Director Chan from office. This is not an effort to silence her. Whether she's vice president of the board or not, she gets to speak on every single issue, just like I do, just like Director Katz does, like Director Odie, like Director Smith. So this has nothing to do about silencing a director or removing them from office. Number two, there was this timing issue. I hate that this is API month. But frankly, there was an attempt to deal with this issue last month. So I'm just going to say, from my feeling, that wasn't on anybody other than an attempt to try to work through this issue. I also want you all to remember, and you talk about respect, these issues that keep being touted up about President Young, this stuff and these discussions did not take place until after the incident that is raised. They didn't take place before or this alternative, efforts to do something. This was after. I got to tell you, and I don't know about other people, I frankly got scrutiny and comments at the hearing from African-American people and women as I tried to sit here and be fair and hear both sides about why wasn't I jumping on the bandwagon for one person. And my biggest issue is I've got problems with all the people I sit up here with. Director Smith, Director Odie, Director Chan, Director Young, and Director Katz, that we are all doing our best to be fair. And we all recognize that we aren't removing anyone from office and that we're going to have to work with a colleague. I would have asked for the same regard, that we still are able to have a relationship. It is up to the board to select their officers, whether they serve as committee chairs or officers. It is up to the board. They can include somebody, put somebody in a position, or remove somebody. This is not a due process issue. So I appreciate how you feel emotionally, but that is not what's going on here. And I will stand here for anybody, Black, white, purple, Asian, about things being done fairly. And I want to assure you, if I have anything to do with it, it will continue to be done fairly. There were people that asked for investigations that are sitting up here, and we tried to respond. That's what's being done here. So to sit up here, I really feel for President Young, for people to accuse her to have a personal agenda. The timeline doesn't support that. And people may agree, people may disagree, but people are trying to be fair. And I will again tell you that I'm the one that sat up here and nominated Director Chan, and I'm also the one sitting up here and saying that the board has a right to make a decision based on things that happen, how they feel they can have someone represent them. So we have to take into account how the people in this room feel and Director Chan's constituents, but also how the people who knew what happened, or the young lady that was involved in the incident, how they feel. And I'm also going to tell you, before I even left that day, I was hearing about this because there were so many people present personally. So please understand our issue, and the reason we're sitting up here is ultimately to make sure that everybody involved, including this board, this organization, our employees, people that overheard things or didn't overhear things, all feel that we're trying to represent everybody fairly. Nobody's trying to remove Director Chan as a representative. We can't. To represent you. Nobody's trying to silence her. And I will be the first person to sit up here and say they can't silence her from representing you. But I will also sit up here and say the board can take into consideration all of the people's concerns and what we think is best to evidence to everyone that we take these matters seriously. And that until some fair resolution or people believe they're heard is taking place, that we've got to make some decisions. So all of this is to say, this is hard. This is hard for every single person. This is one of my colleagues. This is the person I nominated. But I'm going to sit up here and make as fair a decision as I can. And I personally didn't appreciate the implication that people are trying to do things personally. They're not. So I'm sorry, I know I took more time than I should. Please forgive me,
Thank you,
colleagues.
Director Lewis. I think we did have a lot of background that was unstated, given our history on related matters, so I understand the need to speak. Would you like to address my proposal or the agenda item directly in terms of?
And I also wanted to recognize Director Gomez, I'm sorry, because you weren't sitting here. I also wanted to acknowledge, what a stalwart, fair person you have been as far as all of these proceedings have been concerned.
And Director Gomez, I've been looking for the raise hand feature periodically looking at your screen. I haven't seen if you've physically raised your hand yet.
Not yet.
All right, so we have an agenda item right now. We can either, I'm looking for.
I still really think.
Read at the first agenda item, then you came back, so I'm not sure what the procedure.
Well, we are on.
Can I just say something super quickly? And I think when people are talking about silencing me, what they're not talking about removing me from office. I don't think anyone here believes that this board can remove me from office, but a lot of them are concerned about what happened with the API Heritage Month statement, when nobody except for me said it's not appropriate for a non-Asian to read that statement. That is what they meant by silencing. And this is something that Asian Americans understand very, very well, because that is a part of discrimination that we have endured for a long time.
I'm asking for a motion to table the agenda item. If other directors would like to take action on what's on the agenda, I'm open to, receiving a motion on that too.
At this point, I'm going to second the motion by Vice President Young.
Why, by Vice President Young?
President Young, I'm going to second.
So President Young did not make a motion at the time, but you are welcome to make a motion or to indicate that you would like to proceed with the agenda.
I'm just disappointed in that this is becoming an issue of Asian, President Young, Black people. And I'm just concerned, as I've always said. I told you, I don't think this is a discrimination issue or whether Director Chan acted discriminatorily, but I do think there are conduct issues. And I am concerned that as we continue to try to divide our community, I'm concerned about that. So I would make the motion, what is her motion exactly that she?
So if there was a sense of the board that we wanted to proceed with the agenda item, I would open nominations.
I would say that I'm feeling silenced right now. I would say that.
So I want to recognize.
So I can't make a statement?
But you can, but the rushing of the.
I've been waiting for other directors to come into the conversation. Director Smith.
President Pro Tem Katz, you had a motion on the floor to table the item. Do you have before we move on with any other action, do you have a second to that motion?
I didn't make the motion. I was asking for a motion, and I haven't heard any motion or sense of the board, except Director Lewis has indicated that she would like to proceed with opening nominations.
And so you are making a motion to nominate and appoint an interim vice president of the board?
Yes.
I have, all right, the board listened to public comment and we're discussing amongst ourselves, so thank you. All right, Secretary.
So there is a motion so you have made a motion to nominate and appoint an interim vice president of the board of directors. So we have a motion on the floor.
I have, would you like to make that as a motion?
That is my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
second it so we can discuss it if
Okay, all right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion about proceeding to open nominations for the position of Vice President?
Yeah, and I really do think it's fair for me to get a disproportionate say because this is about me. And what I'm just going to say is that in terms of the office of the Vice President or the seat of the Vice President, it is really just a ceremonial seat. That to say we need to fill this seat, that to me does not make any sense because there's really no role that the Vice President has. There's no necessity in filling this seat. And because the Vice President really doesn't do much. And so for there to be a rush to fill this seat, to me, does not make any sense at all. And again, would like my constituents to be here.
I just have a question. I know there was a suggestion of reading the constituent letters. Is there a way just to put the names in there? Or do you want to read them, or do you leave off on that?
If people are concerned about time, I can just read a small portion of each letter. But I really do think that people should be heard. Constituents should be heard.
I think if hearing about those letters is persuasive to any of the directors who have not made their decision about how to proceed on this item, I think that would be good to say.
I mean, we can assume though they're supportive, but it'd be good if the names at least got in the record.
Okay, so we've had a request from Director Odie to.
It's an idea, you don't have to take it. If you want to read them all and everyone agrees, I'm not going to.
I would like to read a small portion from each letter and do it as quickly as possible. Because I really was disadvantaged. This came onto the agenda very late and people were inconvenienced having to write these letters so quickly. And I think that should be honored.
I just have a Brown Act question because we really haven't agendized a discussion of what happened with the API heritage resolution. And I'm not sure if that's really on topic today. I mean, the topic today is the incident with Tiffany.
And these letters.
I'm sorry, I'm asking Derek.
So my understanding is that, the motion on the motion that is on the agenda goes towards bringing in an interim vice president. The April Director Chan's representation or presentation at the board meeting happened subsequent to what happened with Ms. Conway. So I think she's offering the evidence trying to offer evidence in her defense before we vote on this motion. So I think it has some relevance without going into great detail and focusing the discussion on that one incident.
So we have that interpretation. I do agree with a few things that have been stated by my colleagues. I agree with a lot of the political sentiment that Director Lewis raised, that we've had incidents brought to our attention that raise a lot of questions, and the discussion in this meeting has so far raised those tensions, and in my view, unnecessarily. I've expressed my view that is in agreement with Director Chan, that we can leave this position vacant without any interruption in our business. We have provisions for President Pro Tem. If there are objections from my colleagues in having me serve in the rare instance that the chair is vacated temporarily, and we want a designated vice president for the next 3 meetings to be in that role before it reverts to me, or the next senior person who's in the room, according to our rules, then that's a good reason to elect a vice president. But I do think that continuing this conversation in a way that unnecessarily escalates tensions it only makes it more difficult for the board, and I would like a quick resolution on this issue.
So if you are making a motion, I will second your motion.
So just to be clear, we've had a motion. I did, and it has been seconded. So right now,
But you can have 2 motions on the table at the same time.
we can. It is at this point I would like to just hear from directors to see where people are expecting to vote, and then we can conclude. I see Director Lewis.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm making this motion because I would like us to be able to move forward. I would like the investigations to be done fairly, impartially. The parties can determine the transparency and how they're delivered. But I'm just disappointed in the manner things are conducted and the intensity and the fact that there seemed to have been a failure to recognize the fact that we've got colleagues that we're all trying to work together, that we know we're going to be working together, I hope certainly in the future, on important issues for all of our constituents, because guess what? The water all flows together. And to me, at this point, unfortunately, I think the way things have transpired, I'm supporting us moving forward instead of kicking the can down the pathway and have hopefully maybe an interim vice president. But this is really about how the board is represented, and I just think it's keeping we're really scratching something and trying to suggest that things are the way they aren't. And I don't believe there was any attempt to silence Director Chan, and certainly no intent to silence Asian people, Black people, anybody else. And guess what, folks in this room? There are a lot of Black people that were unhappy that people didn't rise up in arms and do anything when the young lady came and made a presentation. So everybody up here is trying to do the best we can for everybody. That's why I make that motion.
Before I recognize Director Chan, are there any further comments on the motion on the floor by Directors Smith, Gomez, Odie?
Just keep my mouth shut.
Okay, let's go to Director Chan, and then I will call a question.
Okay. So may I read a paragraph from, okay, and I will do this very quickly. And then just to say, to talk about judgment, when we talk about rush to judgment, we are also talking about the fairness and the process of investigations. Whereas Director Lewis is correct that the board has complete discretion as to who sits in the leadership seats. But when it comes to the investigations, which I feel are not fair, then the board does not have discretion. That really should be done with due process. So, and again, I would hope that somebody here understands really, and I don't feel that anybody does, really the disappointment the API community feels and how the Heritage Month statement was handled. Because I don't understand why you wouldn't get that, why someone would get, because I think if someone handed me a statement to read on behalf of African, and then I'll move on to the letters, African Americans, I would not do that. Because I don't think that's right. But anyway, okay, letters.
If that's a problem, and we should take up that statement separately, then
Okay,
I think we should do that.
I'm gonna go back to the letters. And so April Chan deserves a full and fair investigation of the unproven allegations made against her before any decision in her position can be made. We do not believe that the rush to judgment is in anyone's best interest. Until a thorough investigation is complete, Ms. Chan should retain her title as Vice President. No action should be taken against her. Please reject any and all politically motivated attempts to remove April Chan. That's Michael Mary Matthews from Oakland. Okay, here's another one from Gary Sloan. I just want you to know you have my support. By the way, I watched as much of the YouTube video as I could. Kristen Margolin from San Leandro. Seems like the East Bay Mud Board is doing a Trump move by casting dispersions and possible lying about this so-called racist incident and trying to remove another perspective from the quarry project. That's Christine Margolin, San Leandro. Paul Wellenkamp, I was disappointed to learn that your status on the East Bay Mud Board has been threatened by an accusation which has nothing to do with the matters before the board. Accusations are easily made, many motivated by power agendas and often untrue, particularly when the accusations concern race. I have seen you in action. You are a serious, hardworking, and effective member of the board. I strongly support you in your position on the East Bay Mud Board. Paul Wellenkamp, San Leandro. It has come to my attention that April Chen is not being allowed due process of the matter concerning her vice presidency. This is concerning as April has been exemplary in our district. Certainly, April was instrumental in her representation of the people and their very real and substantiated environmental and health hazards concerns over the East Bay Mud's grossly misguided quarry project. We live in a democracy, and that comes with responsibility, due diligence, and process. I trust these foundational elements will be observed and applied to April Chen. That's Randall Dutra from San Leandro. So it has been brought to my attention that allegations have been brought forth regarding April Chan trying to remove her from VP without due process of investigation. I strongly object by attempts by Marguerite Young to prevent due process and railroad her own agenda. Thank you, Chrysanda Schindler. This is Marianne Miller, Bayo Vista. I want to thank April Chan and her advocacy and urge East Bay Mud to continue supporting her as the vice president of the board, including the retention of her position and title. I want to thank East Bay Mud for being responsive to the concerns of the San Leandro community, to prioritize community well-being and sustainability. I urge you to continue your vote to continue to act with integrity. And then I am going to read something from the mayor of Dublin. Sherry Hu, while I understand there is an ongoing investigation concerning a recent incident, I feel that it's important to share my experience with Director Chan and to underscore the need for a fair and thoughtful process as this matter moves forward. She has always consistently demonstrated a warm heart, a deep commitment to public service, and a sincere respect for people of all backgrounds. I stand in support of April Chan and trust that the process ahead will reflect the same fairness and respect that she has shown throughout her service. Okay, integrity matters. We expect nothing less from our elected officials from the East Bay Mud Board. East Bay Mud, in fact, I don't know, this one is, since when are allegations treated as fact before real evidence is brought forward? You have no right to strip April Chan of her positions before she is afforded due process. And that is, these are, how long was that? 3 minutes?
It's been longer than that. I see Director Odie had asked for the floor.
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate the comments by Director Lewis. I read the staff report, and it looked like that we had an outside investigation. It wasn't complete. Director Chan volunteered to step down as vice president and continue that voluntary step down, and it was ongoing. So to have this escalate to what it became today was a little bit of a surprise based on the staff report. So similar to Director Lewis, I think I was the one who seconded the nomination of Director Chan for vice president, and it was a 4-3 vote, and I was in the 4-3. So please understand that. I've had an opportunity to get to know you because we do share constituents in San Leandro, and I think you should expect that when this is all said and done, that'll come into play, right? I mean, we've had an opportunity to work together. So to have this demonstration, this escalation, this pitting of one race against the other, it's just kind of disappointing, just to be totally honest. I mean, let's not forget, the original complaint here was from Tiffany, and that, she alleged discrimination based on her race, which we have an obligation under our rules to investigate. That doesn't mean someone is guilty. I was the target of investigation, so I'm going to be, pretty sure that if something comes up against you that's bad, that it's pretty ironclad. You got to understand that. The one thing, shoot, I lost my train of thought on this, but, well, anyway, I just want you to understand that, someone who supported you, despite what you say to my allies out in the public, and someone who's been the subject of a targeted investigation before, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And even if it does come to the point where everything Tiffany said is proven to be true, I think it's unfair to judge a person by the worst thing they may have done in their life. So just remember that. But again, I'm just kind of, four of us on this board were not here during the project in San Leandro. So just to have someone in the audience say that we as a majority of this, because four is a majority of this board, investigated Tiffany's allegations because of something that we had no say in, we weren't even part of the board. That project does not even enter my mind because I don't really know anything about it except that you fought against it. So, I mean, it's a little bit disappointing to hear some of the rhetoric, and I hope that, again, you have a right to defend yourself, but I hope that it can be toned down next time because it's really unfortunate, and I don't want to get into like pitting one race against the other, but this country was built, our capital, our White House, half of the South by slave labor. So the KKK basically was founded, to stop the rights of Black people in the South. So let's not pit one race against the other because that really, it sits badly with me.
Thank you, Director Gomez.
Thank you. So this is really difficult to take at a distance, but I can feel the tension in the room, and it's truly unfortunate. So I believe that we are in the process of doing a fair and thorough investigation and that it is currently continuing. I'm deeply concerned about what seems to be a campaign to try to paint a different picture than what we're actually talking about here today. I agree with Director Lewis, and I think that it was really well said about the issue causing division between us and about the concerns regarding conduct, which I believe ultimately is what concerns me the most. I also agree with Director Katz that the vice president role is largely ceremonial. Definitely agree with Director Odie about the disappointment with the rhetoric that we've heard today. I don't think it needed to get here. Ultimately, what's important to me is that we work well together on the important matters before us as an EBMUD board. That said, if there is a majority of us who would like to choose an interim VP, with the understanding that that would not be, and it is not, a punitive measure, I could agree with that.
Are there any further comments before I call the question? Madam Secretary, yeah. Director Chan.
Yes. I think that these comments about Asians, when Asians appear, they're pitting one race against the other. I don't think that that's fair at all. People were offended by the API heritage statement that it was given to a non-Asian to read. That's for some reason hard to understand, but this whole concept that it's unfair when we Asians talk about what our rights are. When we say we want to be seen, when we say we don't feel like we have been heard, that is pitting one race against the other. That's disappointing.
Director Lewis.
No, I just think, I keep hearing this, I think it's a different issue, but if there's a concern about the reading of the resolution, and that if Director Chan wants to have us take that up in consideration, it should be, but I don't think it has anything to do with any of the issue currently before us. And my concern, when I mentioned about pitting races together, somebody actually stood up and basically said Tiffany had a mental problem. So I don't know how you get around that. I can't sit here and pretend otherwise. That's what was said in front of us. And on behalf of a lot of people, I think that was a pitting kind of comment. Maybe that's not what they intended, but that's what I heard. And that's what I still hear, and I have to react to. And like I said, and I appreciate what Director Gomez said, this is not designed to be punitive. It is not designed to be irretrievable. What it really comes down to at this point is how the board moves forward, how we feel, and by whom we are represented, because we've got to represent ourselves to the public, to everyone, everybody concerned. And I sat here and I will end this, start it, end it every time, how hard this is to do, how much I have enjoyed meeting you, working with you, but at the end of the day, I hope my constituents, I hope my friends, I hope my family will tell you at the end of the day, Valerie's going to try to do what she thinks is fair for everybody, even if it's hard. And I'm making a hard decision that I just think is best for the board, for all of our constituents. And at the day, when this investigation is done, hopefully your constituents will be happy. But no matter what happens, anybody that's here or listening in ought to feel like EBMUD is going to do what they need to do. And that's where I find myself. That's where I find myself sitting right now with that motion.
Thank you, Director Lewis. This is a procedural discussion, and I feel like it's best for the board to make that procedural decision and about our political leadership after the investigation has concluded. That said, I completely align with the comments that Director Lewis has made about the tensions that have come up in this discussion, and I'm extremely frustrated with that. I see Director Odie and then Director Smith.
Yeah, I would also like to talk more about the Heritage Proclamation, not today, but I mean, there were some issues raised that are concerning. And I agree with Director Gomez, this is not punitive. I mean, and like the staff report says, there was a voluntary request to continue the leave until the end of the resolution. And if we wanted to be punitive, you know, there was a motion at the meeting two meetings ago to remove you, Director Chan, from the chairmanship of your committee, and it failed to get a second. So I think what that should tell you is your colleagues are giving you the benefit of the doubt and are giving you due process and do want to wait to hear, you know, what the investigation or read what the investigation has to say. So please have a little bit more faith in us.
Director Smith.
Thank you. First off, thank you to all who took the time to come and be participants in a democratic situation, okay? Thank you. One small request that I have, although you have the freedom to speak, a tone and a volume level might be a little bit considered because we're in a fairly small space. We can hear you. Thank you for that. To my folks up here, this is not a fun or pleasant situation to be in. I agree with Director Lewis because, yeah, I've been hearing about it. You know, why haven't you said anything more or whatever? Because I am doing my best to represent EBMUD to the best of my ability, to represent my constituents, which is actually beyond just the ward that I represent, because we each represent all of EBMUD. So being new to being on this side of the dais, I was surprised that this was happening in open session, but this is the way it happens. I'm learning as I go, which is another reason why I'm mindful of what I say, because I say what I mean, And I mean what I say. I was born to speak that way. If there was any other way that we could address this, I'm sure that we would have been guided to do so. Please allow us to do this because Director Chan has definitely not lost her voice. I would like to believe that it was far from a malicious intent. I would like to believe that it was just a mistake, or perhaps someone was thinking about something else. I'm not the one who did it. I'm not protecting. I'm not blaming. I'm just saying it happened, it got corrected. And we can pick it up at another time if it is necessary to do. But right now, everything is really heated over multiple issues that only one is listed on the agenda. So I think we should address things with proper decorum and being respectful for one another. Thank you for the floor.
See no further comments, I will call the question.
We have a motion. Just go back to the notes. We have a motion by Director Lewis and a second by Director Smith to nominate and appoint an interim vice president of the Board of Directors who shall serve pending the results of investigations and until such further action as the board may take at a future meeting. And if there are no other discussions or questions, we'll do a roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay. Director Chan?
No.
Director?
I'm so sorry. Can you read the motion one more time?
Yes. Nominate and appoint an interim vice president of the Board of Directors who shall serve pending the results of investigations and until such further action as the board may take at a future meeting.
Okay. No. It won't be.
Okay, let's proceed with roll call.
Director Chan, no?
No.
Director Gomez?
Aye.
You said aye? Okay. Director Katz?
Abstain?
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes. I will now open nominations.
I would like to nominate Director Gomez.
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Gomez has been nominated and seconded. Are there any further nominations, or shall we close nominations?
Does she accept the nomination? 'Cause the look on her face.
Yes, I did not have I did not review the rules for that, given I did not plan on presiding over this moment today.
No due process for saying
Yeah.
no.
Right. Director Gomez, do you accept the nomination?
This is not something that I relish or cherish, and I truly am honored by my colleague's nomination. And as I stated earlier, I see this as a non-punitive and mostly ceremonial role. So with that, I accept the nomination.
Okay, thank you, Director Gomez. Are there any further nominations? Seeing no further nominations, is there a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to close nominations. I'll do a roll call vote.
Give me one moment, I'm writing. Okay.
And our procedures sometimes allow some of these steps to get passed, but I haven't referenced them, so I'm just going to go through all the procedures I think are applicable.
Okay. Roll call vote to nominate Director Luz Gomez as interim vice president.
This is to close nominations.
You want to close the nomination?
That was the motion.
I'm sorry, okay. Roll call vote to close the nominations. Director Chan?
Yes.
Director Gomez.
Yes.
Ooh, Director Lewis.
Yes.
Director Katz.
Yes.
Director Odie.
Yes.
Director Smith.
Aye.
Okay, given that nominations have been closed, is there a motion to elect Director Luz Gomez as Vice President?
Never mind.
Interim Vice President until the investigation is concluded.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, it's moved by Director Odie and seconded by Director Smith.
Who made
Lewis.
the motion? Director Odie, okay. And
Director
seconded by
Smith,
Director
second.
Smith, okay. Roll call vote.
Roll call.
Director Chan.
Abstain.
Director Gomez.
Aye.
Director Lewis.
Yes.
Director Odie.
Yes.
Director Smith.
Aye.
Director Katz.
Yes. Okay, we have a new Vice President, interim, and until President Young returns to the room, Director Gomez is now presiding. Director Gomez, we have, you know, things that have been prepared for review. If you would like me to preside until President Young returns to the room, you may request that, but the chair is yours.
Thank you so much, Director
Director
Katz. And-
Gomez, I'm sorry, I had my hand up. You wouldn't have been able to see it.
Oh,
but
sorry.
One,
Yeah.
congratulations, sorry, to Director Chan again. You know, please understand that all of us understand how difficult this is and that we're still your colleagues. But I also wanted to echo Director Odie. Thank you to everybody that took the time to come out. One of the neat things about living here, whether some people are starting to forget it, is people can disagree and that there's a process to come and be heard. And thank you for exercising that, and we do appreciate that up here.
Give me one moment.
Okay. Where's the rest of my packet?
We sold it for you.
All you gave me, Andy, all you gave me was the closed session.
You should have
There's
the whole-
another full set of stuff, thank you. Okay. All righty. We will now go on to regular public comment. We have one speaker card for an item that is not on the agenda, and that is Peter Rosen, if you're still here.
Give me one moment, Mr. Rosen, give me one moment. It's just take some notes here.
This is when my brain did that, sorry. This is when my brain did that, sorry. Until 3 a.m.
Thank you, Director Katz, for stepping in.
That was a heck of a.
And your 3 minutes start now.
Okay, Mr. Rosen, thank you for your patience.
Thank you. I want to thank the board, President Young and staff. I'm coming before you because I'm looking for support from a board and an organization that I have a long history with for my role, and I think you have all in front of you did you get the flyers? For LAFCO. LAFCO, I'm running for the alternate seat to represent the special districts. And me personally, EBMUD, most of you may not remember this, but back when I was president of the California Landscape Contractors Association, Scott Summerfield and Richard Harris and a few other people helped us revise or revive the Landscape Advisory Committee, and I was involved with that, and now Kristen's involved. I'm currently on the Hayward Area Recreation Park District Board of Directors, and the special districts get an alternate seat and a primary seat. And tomorrow morning, there will be a vote for the alternate seat, and I'm coming here before you for support. One of the things I was thinking about when I was in the audience was one of the unique things about me is I actually like the sausage making. I like watching how meetings move, and I like how the process goes, and I like learning about certain things and about how different people do things. And in the role as the alternate on LAFCO, it's about the sausage making. It's about being in the room for the discussions. It's about understanding what's happening. It's about advocating. And East Bay MUD gets one vote tomorrow. And I'm unsure if you have spoken with your liaison, who is the person that will be attending it, either in person or virtually, but I'm asking for that vote. LAFCO truly is about the sausage making, and I would be a good advocate for East Bay MUD to represent on the special district side of things, and I'm looking for your support. And that's about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to committee reports. The minutes for the April 22nd Finance Administration Committee meeting were provided in agenda materials. We have, is Director Smith?
They're still out of the room.
Okay, we'll come back to that, but, and the next one as well. And the next,
Director Gomez is here.
yeah, Director Gomez, would you report on the DERWA meeting? No, why these are squared.
Ledge.
No, I'm,
HR.
well, this morning's there's a April 25th UMRA meeting that Director Smith would report on, an April 28th DERWA meeting that you or Director Chan would report on, the Planning Committee from this morning, and the Ledge HR Committee. Actually, Joey, are you able to report on the UMRA meeting?
Sure.
You have the agenda right there.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, the UMRA committee meeting, yeah.
Okay, yes, our UMRA, Upper McCollum River Watershed Authority, for those who don't know all the acronyms, met on Friday, April 25th in Valley Springs, California. I was the representative, and we've gotten a lot of conversation and discussion about our budget and how we are addressing wildfire prevention, or at least mitigation of fire damage up there. It's a lot of good work that's going on. There's got forest project plans. There was an implementation report given, MAC Forest Health and Resilience project report. There's a lot that's been going on, and we are going to meet again in July. That's when the next meeting, regular scheduled meeting, will be. And I'll have more detailed information for you after that meeting.
Okay, thank you. DERWA, is that going to be Director Gomez or Director Chan?
It's going to be. Okay, so basically on board business, we talked about energy evaluations, and then we talked about the operating and capital budget. So, and then we discussed a public outreach activity, and what we wanted to do was, or we're planning to have an open house at DERWA, and it looks to be scheduled sometime in September. So that is actually, and we're meeting in September, so that is really kind of the big news that came out of that meeting. So that's it for DIRWA.
Okay, and then you also have planning committee?
Yes, I have planning committee as well. Okay, so today we heard information on the Sobrante water treatment. More than information, we voted to accept the report. We also accepted the report on the collaborative project delivery, dewatering improvement projects, and that's a new innovative method of constructing projects. And then also we had the annual watershed and recreation support. We accepted that report as well.
Okay, and then Director Gomez, could you report on the Ledge HR committee, please?
Yes, so the Ledge and HR committee met earlier today and we received a legislative report regarding bills AB 1153, HR 1871, HR 2269, and Senate Bill 1092. We recommend a support position on all of these bills. And the committee also received updates on the statewide water force development efforts and the diversity, equity, and inclusion strategic plan, which was well received.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're now on to the consent item, and I know we have one comment on item 7, so we will pull that. Are there any other items to be pulled by board members?
You have item 12. There's a card for item
Oh, I
7
have,
and 12.
I'm sorry, I was thinking that 12 was off. Okay, 7 and 12 are removed from consent. Do I have a motion for 1 through 6 and 8 to 10 and 13 to 16?
May I ask, Madam President, that you read the note about the meeting minutes for consent calendar item 1?
Yes, actually, I would like to pull that.
You want to pull it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to pull one, go ahead.
Item 1.
Okay.
So we're pulling 1, 7, 12, and there's a standby officer for Ward 6. Valerie, did you want to pull that? Are they here?
No.
She's not. No.
Okay, all right. So do I have a motion for all of the consent calendar items between 1, 7, and 12?
I move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Roll
Roll call
call.
vote. Director Chan,
Yes.
Director Gomez,
Yes.
Director Katz.
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
Director Odie,
Aye.
Director Smith,
Aye.
President Young.
Yes.
Item 1,
Item 1, I had asked for, I would like you to, actually, I'm gonna just back off that, never mind. I'm fine with approving the minutes.
okay. Are there any other comments or discussion for approving the meeting minutes? And there are 4 sets of minutes under item 1. You have the April 8th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. They've been revised as requested by Director Chan. And the final version of the April 22nd, 2025 regular meeting minutes will be updated to remove reference to Director Odie participating in the April 25th Friends of the River event. And so do we have a motion?
No,
And-
Director Odie did not.
Yeah, it was
I
a
know.
mistake.
And that's why we're gonna,
Right,
the final minutes
thank you.
for your signature will be,
I read your work.
yes, thank you, I appreciate it.
You would have had a good time.
Note a tiny typo that since we're doing this, we might as well mention it.
Okay,
On April 8th, item 14, speaks to wildlife preparedness and response, and I believe it should be wildfire.
Okay, this is for director comments?
This
Oh,
is
you're
under
talking about the item that we
the
held over?
minutes for, yeah, the minutes for April 8th,
Got it.
page 11 of 12.
Okay.
Okay, we have to take a,
We need a motion and a second for number one.
motion to approve the minutes from those meetings?
move.
Anybody? Director
I move.
Gomez? Second, anybody?
Second.
You have to say it. Director Smith, seconds. Let's take a roll call vote, please.
Director Chan?
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
President Young?
Yes. Okay, item 7 is a award for the chemical system safety improvements project. And we have one comment. Hey, Justin, do you want to speak after a presentation, or is there somebody to present on the item? Yeah?
Yeah, he stood up and he said, sure, he'll speak after.
Yeah, no, so I want to, who's the staff person that's coming?
Yeah, no, we could do it. We have Emily Darby here to talk about this contract.
Thank you. Hi, Emily.
Can you bring up there's a PowerPoint?
Brief but complete.
Give us one moment. It's an Adobe file.
All right, good afternoon, Board of Directors and General Manager Chan. My name is Emily Darby, and I'm an Associate Civil Engineer in the Infrastructure Management Group within our Design Division. And I'm the Project Manager for the Lafayette and Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant's Chemical Systems Safety Improvement Project, also known as CSIP. So I'm going to provide some background on this project today. Okay, I will begin with an overview of the project, including the scope, drivers, and schedule. Next, I will present the rationale for the consultant selection, the complexities associated with this project, the district's roles and responsibilities, and the consultant best management practices and cost tracking controls that we implement. Then I will share the approach the district has begun implementing on new consultant design contracts based on lessons we have learned. And lastly, I will present the recommended next steps. Right. This project involves replacing and upgrading the chemical systems and safety features at the Lafayette and Walnut Creek water treatment plants, and is part of the district's larger effort to improve chemical safety at our water treatment plants. The effort to improve chemical safety started in 2017, first with the Orinda water treatment plant, then the USL and Sobrante water treatment plants, and now finally the Lafayette and Walnut Creek water treatment plants. The goals of these projects are to improve chemical safety, comply with current codes and industry standards, improve maintenance and reliability by replacing aging equipment, and provide consistency across the water treatment plants to improve maintainability. The picture on the bottom left shows an example of some existing leaky chemical piping, and the picture on the bottom right shows an example of what the new chemical feed systems will look like with improved safety features. The Lafayette water treatment plant, shown on the top picture, has the highest maintenance hours of all of our water treatment plants. Awarding the contracts to Anvil and Stantec today will allow us to complete this urgently needed project to upgrade chemical safety at Lafayette and Walnut Creek water treatment plants. This project will begin construction at the end of fiscal year 2025 and will complete construction in fiscal year 2029. Stantec was selected via a competitive selection process to provide the design and engineering services during construction, also known as ESDC, for CSIP at all 5 water treatment plants in 2017. To minimize impacts to plant operations, the CSIP project was broken up into 3 construction contracts. The first contract for the Orinda Water Treatment Plant was awarded in January 2022 and was bundled with the Orinda Disinfection Project. The second contract for the USL and Sobrante Water Treatment Plants was awarded in February 2023 and was bundled with the USL Maintenance and Reliability Project. Stantec was awarded the ESDC contract for both of these projects. The third contract, which is being recommended today, is for the Lafayette and Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant ESDC. We have discussed our recommendation to award this contract to Stantec with Local 2019 at 2 contracting out meetings over the last 6 months. As the engineer of record for the design, Stantec is the most appropriate option and will provide consistency with design intent. This project has involved many complexities. We have designed project phasing and evaluated construction feasibility to address the very tight site constraints. This photo on the right shows an example of the complex piping arrangements in the chemical building basement. We have developed a plan for temporary chemical facilities and temporary power to accommodate the need to continuously operate these water treatment plants. We have held frequent meetings to coordinate with the other projects that are happening concurrently at the Lafayette and Walnut Creek water treatment plants. And we have incorporated lessons learned from the ongoing CSIP construction projects at the Orinda, USL, and Sobrante water treatment plants into the design as the lessons are learned in real time. The recommended ESDC contract for Stantec will allow us to continue receiving support with this large and very complex project. While Stantec will provide support on this project, the district will lead construction management and will include heavy involvement from the district construction, design, operations, and maintenance staff as appropriate. This table shows some of the work that the district staff will complete during the construction phase. For example, staff will work with Stantec on ESDC tasks, lead the programming, commissioning, and testing, coordinate equipment pre-purchase, manage the contractor, inspect construction, manage the asset management database, and lead system shutdowns and system startups. Additionally, staff will complete some construction tasks prior to the contractor coming on board, including relocating 2 pipelines. The district will continue to implement best practices for managing a consultant throughout the construction phase of this project. These are the same practices we apply to all our projects. This slide shows some of those best practices, including ensuring local and experienced staff are assigned to the project, ensuring continuity of staff on the project, facilitating frequent site visits, reviewing invoices and progress reports to ensure that charges are appropriate, and providing clear direction on out-of-scope requests. The districts will apply the same cost-tracking methods and controls that we apply to all of our projects, regardless of whether they are in-house or consultant. We have a department-level key performance indicator of 15% for the cost of construction management relative to the actual construction cost. We monitor all of our projects and we report those KPIs on an annual basis. If the construction management percentage is greater than 15%, we are required to provide an explanation and justification for the deviation. The district has taken lessons learned on consultant contracts to implement a new approach for all large and complex consultant designs, which is consistent with the recommendations made to the board in November 2020. In this new approach, the design process is divided into 3 separate phases for preliminary design, pre-design, and detailed design. As part of the preliminary design, a basis of design report and preliminary design criteria will be established prior to advertising the project for pre-design services. In lieu of one design contract from 0 to 100% design, project design will be divided into separate contracts for pre-design and detailed design. This allows for full development of the project's scope, costs, and sequencing at the 30% design milestone prior to negotiating the new contract for detailed design, which will reduce the number of scope changes and need for contract amendments. As part of the construction phase, a final contract will also be awarded for ESDC. Stantec will retain the same staff will retain the same consultant or team of consultants throughout the entire design process to provide continuity. However, the district retains the option of negotiating contracts with a different consultant, contingent on the district's needs for the project. This approach is being implemented for the Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant pre-treatment project right now. For next steps, we recommend authorizing the agreement with Stantec and awarding the construction contract to Anvil Builders today. The notice to proceed will begin this summer and construction will be complete in winter 2028-2029. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Were there any questions for Emily? Jim?
I had a question, and maybe it's for the general manager. Thank you for the presentation, by the way. So I look at that number, and I just lost, it's like $61 million. To me, that's a lot of money. Is there some rule or process you follow, whether or not the size of a contract puts it on the consent calendar versus the regular calendar, or is it just some random?
No, I mean, it depends on the size, but I mean, for construction, what's $100,000, so.
Okay.
Okay. No other questions? Justin? Thank you, Emily. This is your first time presenting to the board too, right?
Yes, it is.
Good job. I saw a high five over there.
That was really good.
I just wanted to talk, sorry, I'm coming over a cold too. I just want to talk today just to explain a little bit about this project. I'm sure we're all aware of this project. We're at the, so there's 5 treatment plants. This is the 4th and 5th one. And as you can see on that slide that Emily did a great job presenting, we have to use a new approach now. This isn't the approach we use on this project. We basically hired a consultant to design our treatment plants, a chemical feed system, which is one of the most basic things in a treatment plant to do. And not only do you pay them millions of dollars to do that, you say, okay, consultant, we're gonna reward you by paying you again under an engineering services during construction. We're gonna pay you millions of dollars so you could assist us in completing your design. And what we're finding out is the designs aren't the best. So you're basically rewarding these consultants by throwing more money at them. And what happens during construction? We have a whole construction team here. They could vouch for what happens. They don't go to consultants to get the real final answers. They come to district staff. So not only are we paying millions of dollars for something that we don't get the best quality for, we end up doing the work ourselves in-house. I've been working at Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant. I know exactly what's going on. These safety concerns, I'm not sure where those come from. At Walnut Creek, some other ones, I can see them being concerned, but for Walnut Creek, I started as an engineering aide implementing the upgrade. We built Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant when I was hired as an intern. So that plant, we're throwing a lot of money, and right now we're talking about budget. There's a piece of pie for this, piece of pie for this. Just look at the water treatment plant capital improvement projects. Look how much piece of that pie is moved. What's our solution? Oh, it's shove off these other projects. So I'm just bringing awareness. I've been bringing awareness, but here we are working on our 4th and 5th chemical improvement, throwing more money at these projects. So I see a lot of new faces up here. I know you weren't part of it. For those of you who've been here, I'm sure you're seeing it, but I just would like to ask these questions about why are we doing business this way? I know we're a nonprofit, but come on, we have a better way to use our resources. So I just want to come up here and just explain a little bit about what this project really is. If you look at the $54 million, that's basically equivalent to everything else on the consent calendar. This isn't like 100K, $2 million. This is like $54 million plus $7 million just for engineering services. So I just want to bring awareness to the kind of projects that the board is approving and a little bit of background, because I think maybe the information's not there, and I know there's a lot of information for the newer board members to learn. So I just want to put that out there. All right? Thank you.
Thank you. Clifford, do you have anything to add, or Serge? You look like you want to stand up.
I don't have anything else to add. Myself, Serge, I don't know if you want to just address the need for the project, since Justin is questioning the need certainly at Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plant.
Yeah, I just want to maybe address the comment specifically about Walnut Creek. Walnut Creek does have a more recent chemical system, but we are trying to bring consistency across all 5 plants. So I would say it's fair to say the urgency for upgrading chemical systems is really focused on Lafayette, but we do have we had a safety incident related to the chemical system at Walnut Creek as well. And so I think part of that project is to complete our upgrades that are consistent across all 5 of our plants. So
Okay.
if that answers.
And is there
concern.
a response to the concern that we're basically paying people to clean up their mistakes? If I understood you correctly, Justin? To boil it down, that's what you're saying, right? That we're paying people to clean up their mistakes? Okay, I mean, I just, if I capsulated it correctly, then that's good.
Yeah, so I would say, as Emily pointed out, as a project manager, this was a very large and complex project, very tight site constraints. I would say some of the challenges that Stantec encountered during design, I think anybody designing that project would have encountered, and that included a number of as-builts that they based their design on that were inaccurate. And so we did learn from that with the need for more site presence, more checking before we started design, which is a significant effort. And you see in the BD1, we did break out some additional as-builting we need to do. A lot of our plants get modified over the years because we sometimes don't work on them with a significant project for a decade. And so I think part of this ESDC contract is to upgrade a lot of our drawings that haven't been updated over the years.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Joey?
Which drawings? I mean, these drawings that we do, or what?
So these are drawings for existing systems. And so when we started design, we typically use an existing as-built drawing, but we're finding out through experience, especially at our treatment plants, that a lot of the drawings that we're basing our designs on are not accurate. They don't reflect actual conditions in the field. So there is a huge effort going on to actually update our drawings before we even started design. So we did that as part of this project. That's partly reflect on some of the challenges and costs we've had. And Emily's touched on a different approach we're taking for Walnut Creek, for example. We're requiring consultant engineers to be on site and not just take a drawing we give them as being necessarily accurate. So there's a big effort going on underway to kind of change our approach. And in this case, also as part of this contract, to update a lot of the drawings that just haven't been updated over the years. I don't know if that answers your
So
question.
why is this being expanded beyond Walnut Creek?
So the drawings we're updating are just for the 2 plants we're working on. So we
Thank
have
you.
accurate drawings, so next time we work on a plant, we'll know that the drawing actually represents what's on site.
So this is as-built for Lafayette and Walnut Creek Water Treatment Plants,
Correct.
the project we're working on.
Who did the original ones?
Who did the original drawings?
Yeah. Who did the as-built? Was it in-house or was it a contractor?
It was in-house, it was done by the district, but I think we need to recognize that a lot of these plants do need work by our FMC staff. And while some systems, chemical systems are modified in this case, the drawings haven't always been updated. So we're having discussions with them to make sure as systems are maybe modified over the years, outside of our capital projects, that they get updated as well. And that's the part that we struggled with on this particular project.
So, okay. It seems as if something had been neglected some years previous, and whoever was in charge did not make sure that everything was kept current. Is that right?
That's a fair statement, yes.
Yeah. Be nice if we don't repeat that.
I think Emily has something to add.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, so yeah, updating the drawings is a portion of this ESDC contract, but the majority of this ESDC contract is for standard ESDC tasks. So that is submittal reviews, RFIs that we get from the contractor, and design clarifications. And that's required on all construction projects, whether it's done in-house or by a consultant. We always have to have a large budget for the engineers to review to make sure that what the contractor is constructing meets our design intent. So that is the majority of the design of the ESDC contract, and that is what is listed in the required services. That's about the 5.6 million there. And then updating the record drawings is part of an optional task. And if we decide that we do have the in-house resources to do that at the time, it can be removed. We will be authorizing tasks first for the required tasks.
And when will that get decided?
Depending on resources in a year or two. Because this is a long project.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
Emily
yeah.
pointed out,
Director Lewis?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, and I kind of, don't take it personally, I kind of asked this generally speaking, but all things equal, from a cost standpoint, do we evaluate do we have the expertise in-house versus hiring external consultant? Or do we have the ability to continue to train and develop our folks so that we do have internal expertise for this type of projects? And I ask that considering EBMUD as one of the premier employers in the region.
Yes, I can speak to this, that we have calculated that if we were to do this ESDC contract in-house, it would require 4 full-time employees for 3.5 years. And we do not have that resource availability right now. Additionally, because, so that's what it would take, just directly hours to hours of Stantec. But because Stantec is the engineer of record, they are most familiar with this design and have the best ability to make sure that the contractor is meeting the design intent. If we did it in-house, there would be additional time required to get us up to speed and, potential loss of design intent.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Well, if I could maybe just add maybe one point, that when we initially contracted this work, it was not an issue of expertise. We've done large and complex project. We designed the USL maintenance and reliability upgrades, which is currently under construction. It's also a very large and complex project. So this was not an issue of expertise. We just was a large project that we couldn't handle with the resources, with everything else that we needed to get done at the district.
Okay. Is there a motion? I'll move that we go ahead with the project. What are the consequences of not approving the contract today?
If you don't approve the project, we won't have the resources to manage the construction, review all the submittals, and get this project completed.
So what are the, I mean,
And the board already avoided the construction project.
so folks, what's the angst here?
I think, we heard
Because we did.
reasonable issues about the way, the way we would like things to go in the future. I think that's been heard by the board. I see, I'll leave it there, but this may be one of these situations where we need to move forward with the staff's recommendation on the project in front of us, but also make enough of a note of it so that we prevent similar issues in the future.
So, I mean,
And I'm not the chair, so I'm looking over at Director Smith.
No, I'm nodding with you, yes. It's just gone on too many years, too many contracts where either the timing or whatever the reason was, oh, we got to do it now, we got to do it now, and then all these years down the line. But in the meantime, we've got staff who are capable to address a lot of this stuff. So, yeah, we're in the middle of something right now. And we
So is this the hill
gotta
you're-
honor our contract.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is we are not gonna die on this hill, but in order not to die on this hill, we need a second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Clarification that the board is voting on 7.1 and 7.2?
Both, yes.
Okay,
One motion.
One motion, item 7,
yes.
like we would have if it was on consent.
Director Chan?
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Abstain.
Director Smith?
Only to honor our contract.
I'll change my vote to yes then.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you
I
So
appreciate it.
that's a yes and a yes.
a yes.
Yes and a yes. And President Young?
Yes.
Okay.
And, you know, for the record, this is not the first time that we've heard this, so I would appreciate additional, you know, discussion about whether the new program to review this is, you know, oh, Justin went back to bargaining. If, you know, if the new process actually is working and make sure that there's a collaborative, synergistic discussion with, you know, in-house staff to continue understanding when we can and when we cannot do things in-house and need to contract out, and when we can defer, et cetera. Okay, item 12, I'm guessing it has the same tone. Tony, are you here? Come on down. Are you okay to talk first, or you want staff to? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, come up together then. Okay.
yeah, we don't know what his comment is. We knew,
Okay.
we knew what Justin was going to ask about. We don't know what the
All
comment
right,
is.
thank you, Tony. Crystal will definitely give you a good, you know, will respond.
Greetings, President Young, to the board, Director Chan. 444, really, on item 12, first of all, we just like to say to the mechanic shop, we do appreciate them, and we've been trying to work with them the best of our ability, and so we want to thank them. They did hire, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a senior mechanic in that department, so we applaud them. We've been meeting and trying our best to work with the spending side of things. 444 really doesn't want, in that department, a whole lot of contracting out of equipment, constantly contracting out, when we know that even filling vacant positions will make a difference. And when I say vacant positions and filling, I want to make sure the word qualified people fill them. Don't just put a body there. Don't put me there and all I can do is change a tire. I'm not a heavy equipment mechanic. Just to satisfy someone who says, oh, we filled the position. So with that, it seems like we're constantly trying to work with them on their spending. We're doing our best to do some tracking and be fair about things on both sides. I will say that 444, we really do try to take the very honest approach way up front. We're not hiding our hands. We're showing our great concerns as far as that position is concerned. The thing that bothers us the most is when that dollar amount runs out, before the time that it's designated for, they come back and ask for more. And before that runs out, before the designated time, they ask for more. It gets greater and greater and greater. We really feel that there's ways that things can be controlled all the way around. Again, you represent every ward that's here. The folks that you represent, those ratepayers, I'm sure they would applaud you in saying that you're being mindful of where their money is being spent. So one thing that me, and I'm gonna say this for me personally, that bothers me, when I see this, I see other related services. There's no definition for other related services. I say that because anybody who's smart enough, quite a few people, let's just slide this under other related services, and it belongs to our people who can actually take care of these things. Because this company has it, let them go ahead and fix it, it's already there. But wait a minute, you're taking work from us. This is our core work. We want to keep it, we want to build on it. Who's more well-versed in it? Us. On behalf of 444, thank you.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is that you think it's gonna, can we hear how much we've spent on, have we exceeded our authority in the past on this item? And
We can provide more information. Maybe I'll just address. I mean, we have a contracting out process. You can see in the BD1, we've met with the unions 3 times. As I understand it, through that process, the union is not opposing this contract, but they did want additional information, I think directly to what you're asking, President Young, is how much of this is being spent on specialty work versus work that's being done currently by district staff. And so, again, through the contracting out process, the unions told us they were not opposing this contract, but want this additional information, which I believe Crystal is going to be providing them before we come back with any additional contracts.
okay, so the way I read this item was that this is basically creating a pool of authorized vendors to do work that cannot be done, in-house.
Yeah, some work that we don't do. We don't do body work, we don't replace windshields, and then there's some work that we do that have been using this contract. And I think that's what Local 444 wants more information on.
Okay. Do you have a motion on this item?
Move.
Who moved?
Director Gomez.
Thank you, Director Gomez. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Director Chan. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
President Young?
You bet. Just for variety. Okay. We get a good fun thing to do next. This is very exciting. Director, General Manager Chan, if you would like to.
Yes, I would love to do this.
Wonderful, amazing announcement.
I do have
or decision that we have to
two
make.
appointments for you to consider. So first, I am delighted to bring to you for your consideration the appointment of Alice Toohey as the next Director of Water and Natural Resources. Alice has 24 years of experience, including 18 years at the district, where she's worked in our wastewater department, water conservation division, and the Water and Natural Resources Department. Alice helped lead the update to our climate action plan, has been the co-chair of the District Sustainability Committee. Currently, she's taken a leadership role not only at the district, but statewide on the Bay Delta Water Quality Control Plan, where she's been collaborating with state and federal agencies, NGOs, and other water agencies. She's an excellent communicator, and I'll note for a bit of trivia, also a published science fiction writer. Alice has a broad view of the water industry and will be a champion for the district and the Water and Natural Resources Department. I also just want to note that the effective date for the appointment in the resolution in your packet is incorrect. The correct date is May 19th, and the updated resolutions are at your places.
Is that why?
Yes.
Oh, because I saw.
I know.
Okay.
So whatever the other one I
Okay.
need, yeah, okay. We need a roll call vote. I would move, but I'm going to move it.
Okay,
Okay, I'll second.
there we go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have to do a roll call.
Gonna do a roll call vote. Director Chan?
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Enthusiastic, yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
President Young?
Yay, yes. Okay. Alice, do you want to come up and say a few words? We are just delighted. I'm delighted, absolutely delighted.
Thank you so much for that, President Young and all the members of the board and Clifford. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I am humbled and honored to have this chance to serve in this capacity and to serve the people of the East Bay. I would also just really quickly like to recognize Mike Tognolini, who's been my mentor for, gosh, going on 18 years at this point. I want to thank him for all of his leadership and support. I also just want to say that should you move forward with the next appointment, how thrilled I am to work with Michelle Workman in her new role. So again, just thank you for this opportunity. I'm so excited to be able to serve and to help support the district in this mission. Thank you.
So with that, I am equally delighted and thrilled to bring to you for your consideration the appointment of Michelle Workman as the Manager of Natural Resources. Michelle has over 30 years of experience as a fisheries and wildlife biologist and has worked at the district for nearly 26 years. Michelle has overseen our record-setting McCulmy fishery program and plays a pivotal role in its growth and success. She also serves as a president of We Rock, the district's women's affinity group, where she champions equity and inclusion in the workplace. Michelle is an exceptional leader with an unwavering dedication to the environment, our fisheries program, and the district.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Although Mike has the biggest smile in the room today.
Yeah, because he's thinking, gee, it took 2 women to fill my shoes.
We did not coordinate.
Okay, roll call vote?
I was moved by Director Odie and seconded by President Young.
Yes.
Director Chan?
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
President Young?
Aye. So Michelle, come on up. I just want to say, this was brilliant. I mean, I heard that there was quite a competitive pool for this position, and, Clifford did share with me that he was thinking about something and that would be different, and I'm just, I love this. So the work that you have done on the fishery and all of the environmental habitat programs, et cetera, is just, outstanding. And so I can't wait to see what happens next.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how honored I am for this appointment. And thank you, President Young and Board and General Manager Chan for this opportunity. I think the appointment of the Natural Resource Manager really shines a light on our commitment as an agency to protecting the natural resources in which we're entrusted, and that means everything to me. And I'm just happy to be in a position to provide leadership and advocacy for those programs into the future. So thank you so much.
Congratulations again, Alice and Michelle, and I am excited to work with this dream team. So next, we have Kathy Viatelli here to provide our legislative update. We did discuss these bills in the morning at the Leg HR Committee, and the committee unanimously supported staff's recommendation.
All right, thank you. General Manager Chan, good afternoon, President Young and members of the board. I am happy to walk through the report and the staff recommendations, give you kind of a high-level overview of these bills, very high, and in the interest of time. So there are 3 bills. One is a state bill, 2 are federal bills. The first bill is AB 1153 by Assemblymember Bonta, who is from our delegation. This is dealing with solid waste disposal and code disposal sites, and it's dealing with the illegal dumping. What it's basically doing, it's authorizing upon appropriation the Department of Resources Recycling and Recovery, or CalRecycle, to be able to expend funds in their trust fund to remove and dispose of abandoned recreational vehicles, but then also to have funding for the development of enforcement strategies and local enforcement teams, including illegal dumping enforcement officers. So we have had illegal dumping in our service area. It has been an issue. It can affect water quality. We think bills like this put a spotlight on this issue. It's an important issue, and expanding the funding to address this particular need could be helpful. So we're recommending a support position on this. We've taken support positions on similar legislation back in 2022, which was really focused on increasing the maximum fines for illegal dumping. So I'm happy to go through each of the bills, or if you want to handle them one at a time.
Is it okay
Are there
to
any
go through
questions
each? I mean, the
about-
committee gave approval or recommended all of them, so.
Yeah, okay. So you want me to go through all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Unless,
Do you have any questions about this one?
no, makes sense.
Okay, all right. The two federal bills, the first one is HR 1871. This is by Representative Huffman. This is a bill that's come back. We have seen this multiple times. This is dealing with water conservation rebate taxes, and it's a tax parity bill. So basically, it would ensure that rebates for water conservation improvements are exempt from federal taxes, similar to energy conservation rebates. They are exempt from state income tax, so this is trying to put them all on par. The exemption would apply to rebates for water conservation, stormwater management, and wastewater measures. We, as you know, provide rebates to our residential customers for installation of water conservation improvements, such as converting lawns or for water use efficient irrigation systems. And as I said, Congressman Huffman has long sought to secure a federal tax exemption for these kinds of rebates, and was going far back as 2017. So staff are recommending a support position on this bill. So any questions about this one? Director Odie.
I just have a question. So if the bill is to make them exempt, that means they're taxable now. So how does that work?
No, this is to exempt them from the tax. So
Oh, so not-
basically, when they get a rebate from the district, they get a 1099, so it's considered
Okay.
income.
That was my
So
question.
it
How
counts
do
as
we?
income.
So we do a 1099,
Yeah,
wow,
I
okay.
presume we do a 1099, but that's what's happening, and they get a 1099, and then they have to pay taxes
Andrew's
on that.
nodding, yes.
And this isn't really, it's not expected to be income. This is expected to be an incentive, and so to remove that.
How much, I mean, do these even go over $600 for a 1099?
It depends on the size of the project.
Okay, I was just curious, thank you.
I don't know.
Andrew, is it more than 600?
Sometimes, yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
okay, thank you.
yeah, they're expensive.
Not
Okay.
nothing.
Any other questions on this one? Okay, and then the last one, these are two bills, they're identical. There's an HR 2269 by Congresswoman McLean, and then there's a Senate Bill 1092 by Senator Merkley. They're basically, these bills are known as the Wastewater Infrastructure and Pollution Prevention and Environmental Safety Act, or the WIPES Act. This is another bill, these are bills that are coming back again. They didn't pass in the last Congress, and they're really trying to address the problem of these disposable wipes that are flushed down the toilets and clog the sanitary, the sewer system, and also can get into wastewater treatment plants and clog up equipment. The bill would basically, or the bills would create a national standard for labeling the non-flushable disposable wet wipes, similar to the standard that's in California. They would have to label those non-flushable disposable wet wipe products clearly and conspicuously with do not flush notices and symbols on them. It would preempt all other sort of state laws. It wouldn't affect California because they're adopting the California standard, but this would preempt all other state labeling requirements. And it would not obviously negatively impact us. We're recommending a support position on this. It wouldn't cost the district anything, and it's a way of providing a benefit in terms of the avoided maintenance cost associated with this particular problem. So like I said, the staff recommendation is to support.
It's the WIPES Act.
It's the WIPES Act, yes,
Very clever.
yes. Is there any questions on this one?
I had some questions earlier before the board meeting. I've since had the opportunity to look a little bit more carefully at the bill. I think it's thoroughly written to have, very, very good, broad definitions of the covered product. And, I was just, but before I even saw the agenda for this meeting, while doing some grocery shopping over the weekend, I saw some allegedly, fraudulently fraudulently marketed as flushable wipes. And I took some pictures of the packaging, quite upset, and was happy to hear that this bill is introduced and that we'll be taking a stance on this bill. I did find it really interesting that The packaging has been labeled with the same, INDA, industry group that has the do flush, do not flush symbols, is being cited on the packaging of these companies to say, we followed this industry association standards. So I think it's really important that we have federal intervention so that we don't have, a national industry of these products, because I think a state-by-state approach will be harder, but we may be left to go in that direction if we don't see action. It looks like the Federal Trade Commission is the most logical agency. It's really hard to say, what will be an effective agency in Washington for the next few years. But it's my belief that, if, even with the state preemption, that parties in California would still be able to use procedural mechanisms like the unfair competition law to latch onto a federal standard like this, if this bill were to pass.
Yeah,
So,
and they can also pursue civil suits. There's provisions in the state bill and statute today that allow them to do that here in California. So,
Right, we already have this in California.
yeah, we have it in
It's
California.
not stopping it. Okay, is there a motion?
I move approval of doing the whole package? Or-
Yes.
I move approval of all of the recommendations in item 19.
Second.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Director Chan,
Yes.
Director Gomez,
Yes.
Director Katz,
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes, I support this package.
Director Odie,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Aye.
President Young.
Yes. Okay, move this on to item.
Yeah, I just have a couple of other
Oh, sorry.
updates.
More.
Yeah, there's just a few updates for you all. If you are, reading the news, sort of reporting on activities from DC, the reconciliation process is very active at the moment. It is a long road hoe for them at the moment, and the House has established a goal for itself to pass a bill before the Memorial Day recess. And then the Senate's waiting to see what the House does before they decide to put something forward. The goal for the Republicans is to really have a package to sign before the 4th of July. We'll see if that happens. There's some difficult spending issues for them to resolve. I'm not going to get into them, and I'm sure you've been reading about them, but they have hard work ahead of them. The House Natural Resources Committee did pass their reconciliation package, so they did mark it up, and it now goes on to the full budget committee. The House Natural Resources Committee measure contains, there's funding in there for water infrastructure, water storage infrastructure, I should say, and then also there's money for reclamation conveyance facilities. You may be wondering why they're putting money back into the reconciliation process, because they were supposed to be taking money out, right? They're supposed to be cutting the budget to pay for the tax cuts. But actually, the House Natural Resources Committee has jurisdiction over oil and gas leases, and so they're making up for it with that. That's how they're proposing to spend money in their package. Some good news about the measure, it did not contain any language regarding Delta operations that could negatively impact the McCollumney River fishery, and we're just keeping an eye on that. So that's one of the issues of concern. Then the other piece of news is that the president released his preliminary budget for 2026 on May 2nd, with more detailed information to come in the coming weeks. It does propose large cuts to federal agencies, which is not a surprise. There are 55% cuts to the EPA budget, and slashes the state revolving funds from $3 billion to $300 million. There's also a 30% cut to Interior's budget, and it reduced funding for reclamation programs that do not build or maintain water infrastructure. So anything that has been going towards habitat restoration for fisheries, it's not included in this. It's all focused on infrastructure. It's also bringing back an old notion of moving all federal oversight of all fish species to Interior, which means removing the responsibility from NOAA fisheries. The fisheries are managed both by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and NOAA fisheries, and right now it's trying to move all of that into interior, so NOAA would be eliminated. Whether or not that remains in the reconciliation process remains to be seen, because I'm sure that some will push back on that, saying it's not germane to the purpose of what is reconciliation. But if they can justify savings, they could include it in there. So it's really going to be up to Congress to enact the president's proposed cuts in the budget, and more details will be coming on that. He's also made public statements that he would make the cuts himself if Congress decided not to act. So that is the not so good news from Washington, D.C. Reporting on activities from Sacramento. The policy committees are really wrapping up right now. Their hearings on the bills. The focus this week has really been on appropriations. And they're basically hearing all the bills that'll have a fiscal impact on the general fund. The suspense file will be heard on May 22nd. They have to finish up all of that by the 23rd of May. So that hearing's always on the Thursday before that deadline. And then they'll move into the floor session. And they've got 2 weeks essentially to move those bills out of the House of Origin. And then the state budget tomorrow is the deadline for the governor to release the revised proposed budget based on revenues. Now, the good news is revenues are coming in. They've been pretty strong, despite all sort of the ups and downs in the financial markets. But revenue projections, or the revenues coming in, are exceeding what the projections are. But there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty about the federal budget cuts and how that's going to impact California. And then California has a pretty big Medicaid debt, Medi-Cal debt essentially at the moment, and they're going to have to fill that. So there's so much uncertainty right now about all of this. We anticipate that the governor's proposed budget is actually going to come in lower than what he'd proposed originally, because they're going to have to come back and there's no funding for new programs. So I think it's going to be a difficult budget. They'll pass it by the June 15th deadline, but there's more budget activity that will happen into the summer and before they recess in the fall. So there's a lot more to come on that. So those are my updates. Any questions?
It was pretty brief.
Tried.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Next, we have a discussion on the revision to the water and wastewater schedule of rates and charges, capacity charges, and other fees subject to Prop 218 and not subject to Prop 218. These actions include filing the report and recommendations for these revisions and to set a public hearing date for June 10th, 2025. And Sophia Skoda here has a short presentation to discuss items 20 and 21.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. I'm here this afternoon for the two items that General Manager Chan mentioned. So one, after I go through the slides, we'll ask that the report formally be filed. And second, that formally the public hearing that's been noticed in our Proposition 218 notice be set for June the 10th. So this is, again, the formal report of our 218 charges that have already been seen and reviewed by the board at our budget workshop number 2. And in addition, we will review on a couple of slides changes to our our non-proposition 218 rates. I'm trying to figure out how to move forward. There we go. With regards to our budget and rates calendar, we held our first budget workshop on January the 28th, our second one on March the 25th. We mailed the notice during the month of April, and the next action is today, again, to file the reports and to set the public hearing, as I mentioned. We are also in the process of conducting budget and rates hearings across the district, and many of the Board of Directors members have been a part of those, and there's one tonight in the Eden area, Director Chan's area. And then we will be hosting a generally wide Water Wednesday webinar, Tapping into Tomorrow, Investing in the Future with our proposed budget on May the 21st. And then again, assuming that the board makes a decision to set the public hearing, we will hold public hearing on the 218 rates in particular on June the 10th. And should those be approved by the board, they would go into effect for the fiscal 26 year on July the 1st of 2025, with those going into effect for fiscal year 27 the subsequent year. So jumping into the Proposition 218 rates now, we'll start off by taking just kind of a big overview of of the rates and where they're going. So again, the rates work in concert with the amount of water that we actually sell to determine the amount of revenue that's coming into the district. So our water sales actuals for fiscal year '24, 136.4 million gallons per day. And for fiscal year '25, we are looking at around 143.2. And so the proposed budget for fiscal year '26 is based on 143.9 with some small increases built in after that. Whenever we do have a drought, we have 2 years between the next budget, and we do make adjustments as needed. The average rate increase during '24 and '25 was 8.5%, and the average rate increase again this year, depending on usage because of the cost of service year on the water side, 6.5%, and then 6.5% certainly in fiscal year '27, as there won't be a cost of service change in that year. And then we have just our forecasted years here as well. In terms of the actual single-family residential bill, typical use is 5 units in this case. The proposed bill would be $66.30 going up to $70.60 in 2027. On the wastewater system side, those increases are 8.5% and 8.5%, and those are directly on top of the existing rates, as this is not a cost of service year for wastewater. And the typical single-family residential bill, and this is again just for wastewater treatment, as the collection system is owned by other public entities, $28.05 for the typical single-family user based on 4 units of usage in '26 and $30.40 subsequently. So this is just what that looks like graphically as compared to other agencies that are nearby. I do want to note Alameda County Water District, it says proposed there, those have now been passed. And these are the similar sort of comparators for the wastewater bill. EBMUD only being responsible for the orange portion, again, because we only control the treatment portion. And so the total of this bill is treatment, our pollution prevention fees, wet weather fees charged on the property tax bill, and then in this case, we've used Oakland, which is the largest agency inside of our district as a full comparator to others. In terms of our example, single-family residential monthly bills, you can see here 25th, 50th, 75th, and 95th percentile in addition to the mean or average. Again, we've noticed this in our Proposition 218 notice that's been mailed throughout the service area, and you'll see the fiscal year '25 bill, the '26 and the '27, and kind of what those changes are. As we move to the next slide, what you see is a similar impact, but in this case for multifamily residential buildings. So you'll see in this case a 4-dwelling unit building, a meter size would be about 1 inch or is 1 inch, and a multifamily with 5+ might also have 1 inch, but usage is different. You see the 20 versus the 35, and you'll see again the bill changes and impacts across the chart. There's a sample commercial customer, a 1 inch, an industrial customer at a 2 inch, and you'll see the usage at 5, and then 10 times that at 50 for the industrial customer to see those impacts as well. With regards to elevation surcharge, the structure that is proposed continues to have an elevation surcharge. This allows the district to pay for the cost to construct and maintain facilities that serve our customers that live at elevation. It also shows the recycled water rates that have come out of the cost of service as well. Moving on to the next slide, the wastewater treatment charges are shown here, again, for a typical single-family residential user. Then you'll see the maximum single-family residential user. Again, we have that maximum because we are not looking to charge folks for the water that they're using during their outdoor watering periods. Multifamily dwelling for 4 dwellings, in this case, again, 20 HCF as the usage, and then a 5+ dwelling unit building, again at 35, in the same commercial and industrial buildings that we looked at on the water side as well, showing the impacts both for fiscal years '26 and '27. With regards to the proposed annual wet weather facilities charge on the property tax bill, we have small, medium, and large lots. Again, most of the single-family residential properties that we serve fall in the small lot category. And again, these charges help us pay for our wet weather facilities and operations for when it rains. And again, the district can see 10 times the amount of water that we treat on a normal summer day. So now we move to the non-Proposition 218 rates and charges. These are updated to reflect our district's actual costs. So we actually go out to the users and make sure that we have the right number of hours and that we're using accurate labor rates as well. And so in the water system, there are a series of charges shown. Wastewater, a smaller series of charges that are shown there. And then there are some other district fees, including rec use fees as well. Excuse me. We have updated our system capacity charges. The changes on the water system side are very small. About $500 for a single-family residential unit is the change there. The standard participation charge is limited to a very small number of areas, very specific that have been kind of legacy areas at the district, so Weideman Ranch, Wend Ranch, Meadows, and Camino Tasahara. And then with respect to the water system, the change here again is very small. I think it's a $5 change and technically is a decrease reflecting kind of depreciation of assets on the wastewater side, which are quite old and don't have the same level of investment as on the water side. So moving on to the next slide. Oops, I think I went the wrong direction. There are some changes to regulations governing water service. This slide has a summary of what those are. I won't take the time to read them aloud. Many of them are regulatory reference changes. I think the first one for accessory dwelling unit and junior accessory dwelling unit are literally just name changes. You'll see some other regulation changes as well here. So this is just to make sure that we're staying current with our updated regulations. And so with that, the recommended board action is to accept and file this report and to we would recommend setting the public rate hearing for June 10th, as we've noticed.
Okay, so we have two actions, 20 and 21, and we need to take them separately. Are there, but we can take questions about both the 218 and non-218 charges if there are any. Hopefully all of us have heard this a number of times at this point. No questions,
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say thank you. This was a big deal, as you know. You've done this before, so it's one of the bigger things we do. So appreciate all of the hard work that you and the whole team put into it.
Thank you, Director Odie, and that prompts me for something that I wrote down and didn't say, which is I
Where's
wanted to
Sam?
thank, Sam actually didn't work particularly on the race and charges, but Phoebe did. Thank you, Phoebe, and Cindy Vong and Karen Belici as well. So it takes a team, as you note, to make this happen. And of course, the budget, builds right into the rates, but the actual rates, Phoebe, thank you.
Well, it's not unnoticed.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sam and Phoebe both, and the rest of your team. I'm sure it's more than the three of you.
Yes, it's
Way more.
yeah, and also to Clifford for sharp eyes. So
Director Gomez has her hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, this was a heavy lift. Kudos to the team who put it together. I just had a quick question about the projected rates that I saw on the slide, that 6.5 and 6.5 for these coming 2 years, but the subsequent years, it seemed to be different from what we had heard before, but I could be wrong.
you want to go back?
I think she's correct. It should be
Yes,
5%.
I think that you're right, that should be 5% in the out years, and Clifford caught that actually in a prior version of the slide, and we didn't transfer it here, so yes.
But it's in the report, though.
Yes,
has
the
it
report has it
correctly.
accurately, but Clifford, I just want to note, did catch that error, so.
Thank you.
Second eagle
And
eyes.
thank you for your eagle eyes as well, Director Gomez.
Okay. So what do you
Okay, we need a motion for item 20, and then a vote, and then a motion for 21 and a vote.
I'll move on item 20.
I'll second item 20.
Moved by Director Odie, seconded by Director Gomez. All those in favor, roll call.
Director Chan?
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
President Young?
Yes. Okay, and 21, does other people want to take the honors?
So moved.
Moved by Director
Second.
Katz, seconded by Director Smith. Roll call vote, please.
Director Chan?
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
President Young?
Yes,
Thank you. We'll see you on June 10th.
thank you.
Thank you, Sophia, and the entire team. So for our last update is the Brine Water Treatment Plant Reliability Improvements Project. You've heard about this project a number of times. We have a presentation this morning at the Planning Committee. The Planning Committee unanimously supported the recommendation to certify the final EIR. And I'll leave it up to the board if they want to hear Jay's entire presentation or just get to the punchline.
Whatever the board.
Maybe we just get to the punchline.
Sure.
Actually, I would appreciate it if you could talk a little bit about the extent of public engagement that's been.
Not a problem. Why don't I just do the
taken-
5-minute
Taken
version?
on this
How does that
project,
sound?
quite
Jay, give you
extensive.
1 minute.
Okay, I'll give you the quick 5-minute or less version. All right, quickly, the need for the project. Sobrante Water Treatment Plant serves the northernmost portion of our service area from Crockett down to El Cerrito. It's a critical facility operated in the summer, drought operations, outages, and we need to have reliable treatment capacity to serve our customers in the future. The objectives of the project are to replace aging infrastructure, restore reliable treatment capacity to full capacity, reduce disinfection byproducts, improve efficiency of operations and maintenance, maintain flexibility to treat water from supplemental supplies, and increase treatment capacity as needed for future demands. So the project is located in the city of Richmond and El Sobrante. So in this map, you'll see Highway 80 from the bottom going to the top, City of Richmond in orange, City of San Pablo in green, and the unincorporated communities of Contra Costa in gray. And if you follow, you'll see San Pablo Reservoir down at the bottom right-hand corner. And if you follow that yellow road up, you'll get to Sobrante Water Treatment Plant. And the project is divided into 2 phases. First phase will restore capacity to 60 MGD, and those improvements will take place solely on the water treatment plant property. And phase 2 will increase capacity to 80 MGD, and that'll take place at the Sobrante Water Treatment Plant. But in addition, we need to add a new transmission pipeline, and that's to convey water from the treatment plant to the distribution for this new increased capacity. We'll skip that. Draft EIR, we took the project and we put it through environmental analysis. There were 14 environmental factors that were reviewed, and we had to, at the end, add some mitigation measures to bring those potential impacts to less than significant levels. Unfortunately, there was one noise where even with the mitigation measures, there were significant and unavoidable impacts. We took this project out to the public, did some outreach. We met with local agencies, the general public several times, and they're listed on the left bullets there. We sent letters out to 56 public agencies. We sent out 1,700 postcards to local residents. We posted on Nextdoor. We have a project website. We published in the newspapers, and we also made 3 hard copies of the draft EIR available for the public. Here's a visual simulation of the treatment plant with the improvements. You got Amen Road down below, and then Valley View Road on the right. And we had a bunch of public comments, and we incorporated that early on into the design. That is, we revised our design based on those comments. Some of the major changes we've made are, 1, we doubled the setback of these basins from Amen Road from 50 to 100 feet. We increased the number of trees and shrubs to increase the visual screening because the neighbors were concerned about aesthetics. We had our typical 8-foot barbed wire security fence along Amen Road, but in response to public comment, we pushed that back towards the basins. And then along Amen Road on the property line, we changed it to a 4-foot high fence, a wrought iron style, to match the stylings of the fence of the neighboring Richmond Fire Station. Also, the nearest buildings, the most visible structures here, we originally had them match the existing treatment plant structures, but then we modified it to the Mission Revival style to match, again, the fire station. So significant changes that we made even prior to the draft EIR to incorporate public comment. We released the draft EIR and then gave the public a chance to comment, and then most of those comments pertain to aesthetics, traffic noise biological during construction, coordination with planned public work projects, permit requirements, stormwater drainage, cultural resources, odors, and potential utility conflicts. Here's a list of the mitigation measures that hopefully you've seen before. And the one I want to touch upon is noise. That's the one that even with mitigation measures, there's still some significant and unavoidable impacts. That is, even with the mitigation measures, noise limits will be exceeded for certain activities, not all, just certain. Some of those activities are pile driving of I-beams for those basins near Amend Road. Concrete pouring we'll be doing a little earlier than our typical work hours, as early as 6 a.m. And then construction of that transmission line, when we do a trenchless construction method to go under the creek to avoid biological impacts, that'll have some noise, that'll exceed noise limits, along with our standard open cut trenches, open cut construction method in roadways for the pipeline. There is a possibility that we might have to do nighttime work as dictated by local permits, or if completing the work in the daytime becomes infeasible, and nighttime activities would exceed noise limits. So, we took all the comments we received from the draft EIR, we responded to them and put them in the final EIR, but also we made some small revisions to the draft EIR. One, we added Caltrans to the list of potentially required permits. We made some minor clarifications regarding saying that chlorine is not a new source of odors at the water treatment plant, that disruption of water service is not expected during construction, and that the short segment of pipeline that will be constructed under San Pablo Creek will not be constructed in a roadway, it'll be constructed in an easement. And then finally, we updated the project schedule based on the proposed capital improvements program. The CIP pushed the construction out beyond the 10-year window. And so today, I'm here to have the board consider the final EIR and approve the project. And then in 2036, design is scheduled to start. Construction phase 1, which is to restore capacity to 60 MGD, that's in 2039. And then construction of phase 2, which is to increase capacity to 80 MGD, that'll be 2054. And that'll only occur, that is, it may be deleted or may not even occur if water demands are not realized in the future. And then, given that the project is delayed so long, that the time period from completion of CEQA and when construction begins is so far out, we've added additional future outreach for the public. That is, when we get to 30% design, we're gonna notify the community again of the schedule changes. We'll hold community meetings to give the people an opportunity to provide feedback. And then we'll also have another community outreach just before construction. And then we'll also, of course, continuously update the website with schedule and additional notifications during the design and construction process. And with that, we have our staff recommendation to certify the final EIR for the Sobrante Water Treatment Plant Reliability Improvements Project, make findings in accordance with CEQA, including a statement of overriding considerations, adopt the mitigation monitoring reporting plan in accordance with CEQA, and adopt the practices and procedures monitoring reporting plan, and approve the project. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Jay, for all your work on this, and Tim, I think, before you.
Correct. Tim McGowan, also Stella.
It's kind of
Tan.
funny how you're both on the retirement board. Anyway.
That was not coordinated.
This project is spurred quite a lot of public interest, and now given that I think it's safe to say that at least half of the folks that were engaged are going to be either too old to care or not in our world anymore when some of this stuff happens. I do hope this future outreach is super important, and since it's maybe unlikely that any of us will be here when that happens, that it really get baked in, baked in to the plan and the program, and that phase 2, which I mean, we might even not have cars by then, I don't know. But having Dam Road under construction for 4 years is going to be pretty exciting. So,
Well, that's the adjective you're gonna use.
yeah, yeah. So, it's an important project. I hope we undertake a very good process to decide whether we need to do phase 2 or not, because it's definitely more impactful for the community, and if we don't need it, we shouldn't do it, and
Yes, we do our demand study every 10 years, and so we'll have the next one in 2030, another one in 2040, another one in 2050, and at each of those intervals, we will reassess the need for whether or not an expansion of the treatment plant is needed, so. And as far as public engagement, yeah, given the time between now and construction, we have a practice now that if things get deferred more than 5 years, we'll go through this process of re-engaging the community, getting their feedback, and getting the public re-aware of the project.
okay. I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Director Chan?
Yes.
Director Gomez?
Yes.
Director Katz?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
Director Odie?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Aye.
President Young?
Yes. Okay. Boy, I see the end in sight. General
Yes.
Manager's report.
Yes,
Thank you, Jay.
The monthly report is attached at your places of Speakers Bureau, and that's the end of my reports.
Any items for future consideration, please submit those to myself and the General Manager. I would like to ask that our practice, which has started to emerge of everybody going through their director comments, be translated into writing for this meeting rather than recorded as part of the session, just so that we can leave before 5. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then the next regular meeting of the Board of Directors will be held on Tuesday, May 27th, which is after Memorial Day, I believe. This meeting is now adjourned.